Chapter 594. Then what are we waiting for? Kill them. Puff, puff, puff. Hearing this, Fatso Lu's face suddenly turned fierce. He waved his hand and shot out the reincarnation hellfire, aimlessly throwing it at the surrounding crowd. This is a strange fire, a green flame. It's the reincarnation hellfire. It's a strange flame that can help its wielder recover instantly and dissipate those who are hit by it. Quickly rise to the sky to avoid it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale. They stepped into the sky as if they were trying to avoid a demon. However, there were still some powerhouses who could not avoid it in time and were directly burned into nothingness by the reincarnation hellfire. There was not the slightest trace left. It was as if those people had never appeared here at all. Oh no! Someone wants to take the opportunity to snatch the fruit of earth. Bastard! Who is it? Kill! Many powerhouses' pupils immediately shrank when they heard the words, and they looked down at the dry spirit tree. When they found that there were indeed 2 more figures under the tree, they were so angry that their faces were livid. They rushed down like crazy. Kinran, go to Fatso Lu and help them. On the other side of the void, Lung Feng frowned and said coldly. He then took out his long sword and stepped into the air to land under the dry spirit tree. On the way, he slashed out a few times and killed dozens of earthly venerable realm powerhouses. Lung Feng is a friend of Wang Kai. Lung Feng swung his long sword and said coldly. Yang Wei and Green Ghost looked at each other. No matter whether what the newcomer said was true or false, it was not too much to agree with him since he was willing to stand out under the siege of so many powerhouses. Thinking of this, Yang Wei clenched his fist and said in a deep voice, Yang Wei, Hall Master of the mighty hall of the Discord sect. Green Ghost, Hall Master of the Ghost Hall of the Discord sect. Green Ghost said coldly. Upon hearing these words, even Lung Feng, who usually had an ice-cold expression, could not help but gently twitch the corners of his mouth. Every time he heard the words offend the Heaven Sect, he would be reminded of Wang Kai's shameless and despicable deeds. Fatty, Master Canron is here to help you. Swoosh. On the other side, Cruel Blade rubbed his bald head and held a black broken saber in his hand. He licked his lips and appeared beside Fatso Lu with a ferocious expression. Bald Donkey, it's you. Ha ha ha. Fatty Lu was startled when he saw this. Soon after, he began to laugh out loud. At the same time, in the sky above the desolate valley thousands of miles away, Wang Kai was frowning as he looked down in surprise. If one did not look down from the sky, it would be difficult to discover that the entire area of the desolate valley was formed into the body of a giant dragon. Furthermore, there was a cross at the location of the dragon's heart. It was as if it was telling people that this place was very important. Interesting. Could there be some kind of treasure inside? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but become interested. He immediately floated down and landed on the cross where the heart was. What came into view was a ring-shaped pile of rubble. In the center, a long cross was deliberately drawn. Looking from above, it was exactly the heart of the dragon. Bang! Bang bang! Seeing this, Wang Kai lifted his foot and stomped a few times. Immediately, the rubble flew up and the ground cracked. However, other than that, there was no other abnormality. Who are you? What are you doing here? Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded out, causing Wang Kai's eyebrows to twitch. He turned around and saw a doddering old man slowly walking towards him with a walking stick. This old man had no cultivation. His eyes were turbid and his face was old. He was not a person who had cultivated martial arts. In that case, it was impossible for him to have just entered the reincarnation realm. Thinking of this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled in surprise. Senior, where is this place? Is there a treasure hidden here? Whoosh. As soon as this was said, the old man sneered. He pointed at the center of the rubble with his walking stick and said in a hoarse voice, This valley is called the Valley of the Extinct Dragon. The place where you are standing is the heart of a fallen supreme realm divine dragon. As for the treasure, if you have the ability, you can break open the dragon's heart and go down to look for it. The Valley of the Extinct Dragon, the place where a supreme realm divine dragon fell. Wang Kai's eyes suddenly shrank. Wasn't it said that there could only be 10 supreme realm divine warriors in the 8 wastelands? Since that was the case, where did this supreme being divine dragon come from? Could it be that the supreme realm divine warriors who died in the past were not all buried in the reincarnation blood pool? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and muttered in surprise. However, these words were heard by the old man. He immediately nodded and said without hiding anything, "Young man, you are right. The reincarnation blood pool is only the center of the reincarnation realm. The entire reincarnation realm is the place where the supreme realm divine warriors of the past generations fell. For example, the Phoenix Fallen platform in Fengming Mountain, the Blue Ice Cave in the Red Dust Path, the 100 Grass Fairy in the Divine Medical Ridge, and so on. There are a total of 97 places where supreme realm divine warriors fell in the reincarnation realm. 97. It was actually 97, not 89. Until now, among the supreme realm divine warriors of the 10 supreme realm divine warriors, there should be a total of 89 supreme realm divine warriors who fell and committed suicide. To be exact, it should be 90. The supreme realm divine warrior, replaced by the Kylan, committed suicide here. But now it was 97? Could it be that there were more than 10 supreme realm divine warriors in a generation? Wang Kai suddenly felt puzzled. He could not help but carefully look at the old man in front of him. He did not seem to have practiced martial arts at all. His movements were very slow, as if he would die at any time. Yet he knew so much and was so clear about it. Old senior, may I know who the other 7 are? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked puzzledly. The current Supreme Azure Dragon, Supreme White Tiger, Supreme Vermilion Bird, Supreme Black Tortoise, Golden Cicada Buddha, Drug God, and Supreme Linglong. The old man leaned on his walking stick and said with a trembling voice, "Whoosh." Hearing this, Wang Kai's expression suddenly froze. The current 7 supreme realm divine warriors. Then, according to you, only the supreme heartless, the Sky Emperor, and the supreme realm divine warrior of the Soul Break Valley are still alive. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a surprised expression, "Cough, cough. No, the supreme realm divine warrior will not die. In the past, the one who died in place of the supreme realm divine warrior was this old man," the old man said while stroking his beard. Whoosh. Hearing this, Wang Kai's pupils shrank. He could not help but move to the side of the old man. He directly reached out and pressed his hand on the old man's shoulder. Even after probing, he still could not discover any cultivation. "Old senior, you said that you're the one who died in place of the supreme realm divine warrior. Does that mean that you're the Kylan from back then?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a mocking smile. It was strange to begin with. The supreme realm divine warrior was able to let the Kylan die in place of him in the first generation. But after that, who could he find? He could not think of anyone other than the Kylan who could be comparable to a divine warrior. But now he suddenly heard this old man say that he had died in place of the supreme realm divine warrior. While Wang Kai was shocked, he also felt disbelief. Chapter 595. Haha, young man, Honorable Chilin's token is in your hands. Why do you have to test me? The old man tapped the ground gently with his walking stick. Whoosh. Upon hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. Yes, one of the 5 Emperor tokens, the Chilin token, was in his hands. Moreover, after sensing it, he found that the token had nothing to do with the old man. What he said just now was just a test. Since you are not Honorable Chilin, who are you? Ha! If not for the fact that you look different from Honorable Heavenly Ghost, I would have thought that you were him. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled nonchalantly. I am Honorable Heavenly Ghost. Bang! Upon hearing this, Wang Kai threw a punch without hesitation. However, it was blocked by a barrier that appeared in front of the old man with a dull thud. The barrier was sky blue in color and seemed slightly transparent. However, there were no cracks or signs of it being shaken by the punch. Young man, don't be impatient. I am indeed Honorable Heavenly Ghost, but I'm not the Honorable Heavenly Ghost who oversees the Soul Break Valley. We have 2 hearts, 2 souls, and 2 bodies." The old man laughed slowly with a hoarse voice. 2 hearts, 2 souls, and 2 bodies? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. Could it be that there really were yin-yang people in this world? "What do you mean?" "Thud, thud." The old man did not respond. Instead, he raised his walking stick and knocked on the barrier unsteadily. After the barrier disappeared, he said, "Dead people and ghost cultivators are not recognized by the heavens and earth. They cannot walk in the mortal world. They need to reach the honorable realm before they can walk in the mortal world. However, if they want to go to Tianzhou, even the 8 Desolation honorable realm cannot pass through the gate of reincarnation." Upon hearing this, Wang Kai nodded gently. There were many ghost cultivators in the Soul Break Valley who could not see the sun. Only those who reached the honorable realm could leave the Soul Break Valley. However, Honorable Heavenly Ghost was an honorable realm expert, so he naturally did not care about this. In that case, the reason why Supreme Heavenly Ghost was split into 2 was because of the drawbacks of wanting to go to Tianzhou. Even if a ghost cultivator reaches the level of 8 Desolation Supremes, they can't pass through the so-called gate of reincarnation and head to Tianzhou. What does that mean? Is there a door to Tianzhou in Bahuang? Wang Kai asked with squinted eyes. The old man nodded in agreement. He walked to the pile of rocks near the dragon's heart, tapped the ground, and said, "Just like this azure dragon, it would rather die here. Isn't it all for the sake of going to Tianzhou? Who would commit suicide for the sake of an 8 Desolates supreme realm that restricts their abilities?" Whoosh! Wang Kai was shocked when he heard that. He looked at the old man in shock. He did not expect the old man to know that there was a bottleneck in the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm. Once one reached the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm, one would no longer be able to advance to a higher level. Only by stepping into the Heavenly Soldier Realm from the Sovereign Realm could one continue to cultivate to a higher level. From what the old man said, the Azure Dragon Sovereign must have known about this. If that's the case, why did the past sovereigns commit suicide here? Wang Kai frowned and asked in confusion, was there such a foolish sovereign in this world? Absolutely not. However, the old man's next words enlightened Wang Kai. He was so shocked that a chill ran down his spine. Who said that the past sovereigns committed suicide and died? That's just a perfunctory answer to the outside world. The deaths of the past sovereigns were all caused by me. The old man laughed with a hoarse voice. They were all killed by this old man. This Wang Kai was stunned for a moment. Even if he racked his brains, he could not figure out what the crux of this matter was. Back then, I was the first 8 Desolation Supreme Realm expert in Bahuang. I wanted to break into Tianzhou, but I was rejected by the gate of reincarnation. In order to enter Tianzhou, I thought of a way to revive myself, and now I've done it. The old man said with a faint smile, "Revive 8 Desolation Supremes. The first sovereign." Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. He could not help but squint his eyes and say in a low voice, "Isn't it rumored that ghost cultivators can be revived when they cultivate to a certain level? Could it be that it's using the lives of the past sovereigns? Moreover, there's already one 8 Desolation Supreme, and you're—" Before Wang Kai could finish his words, the old man coughed and interrupted him. "Yes and no. Just by relying on cultivation, ghost cultivators are dead people in the end. They can't become real people. That rumor is just a beautiful dream for many ghost cultivators," the old man said with a disdainful smile. However, Wang Kai could hear a hint of self-mockery in his laughter. From this, it could be seen that the old man also believed that cultivation could revive him. It was just that he had never succeeded. 110,000 years ago, I reached the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm and wanted to break into the Tianzhou. However, I didn't succeed, so I used a secret technique to split myself into 2. Naturally, my realm fell from the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm to the lowly Ghost Sovereign Realm. One was half a soul that merged with the living body and fused with the soul. The other half of the soul cultivated in the Soul Death Valley. After 10,000 years, it reached the Supreme Realm. At that time, the second 8 Desolation Supreme had already appeared in the 8 Desolation Supreme. At that time, the newly promoted 8 Desolation Supreme happened to break into the Tianzhou. I had long expected that the other sovereigns would take the opportunity to seize the position of 8 Desolation Supreme. Therefore, I didn't fight with them. When they failed, I was afraid that the 8 Desolation Supreme would come back and punish me. At this point, the old man's voice paused. He turned around and looked at Wang Kai with sparkling eyes. Therefore, you took the opportunity to plot with the first Heavenly Emperor. You wanted to use the lives of 10 sovereigns to revive you. The funny thing was that the other sovereigns didn't all agree. That's why you buried them in the reincarnation realm. Am I right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile, Papa. Hearing this, the old man nodded his head in praise. Tapping the ground with his walking stick, he laughed in a hoarse voice. Actually, it's not that everyone disagrees. There are only 2 who disagree. One is the Azure Dragon Sovereign, and the other is the always lazy Black Tortoise Sovereign. Hearing this, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. The Azure Dragon Supreme disagreed because he knew that once one reached the 8 Desolation Supreme level, one couldn't reach a higher level. Presumably, when Jing Xian went to the Tianzhou, the Azure Dragon Supreme didn't take the opportunity to seize her position. As for the Black Tortoise Supreme, Niuzha Tian was just lazy and didn't want to bother. Since that's the case, the 8 Desolation doesn't have any boundaries. It's just that they were confused by you and thought there was a boundary. So, you've been plotting since 110,000 years ago when you failed to go to the Tianzhou realm, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a faint smile. The old man nodded and raised his walking stick. He pointed behind Wang Kai and said with a hoarse voice, Now, I still need the lives of 3 sovereigns to be fully revived. My second soul, the Heavenly Ghost Supreme, is outside the reincarnation realm. He must have already attacked the Heavenly Emperor who hasn't entered the reincarnation realm yet. The Heartless Supreme is behind you. If the Heavenly Ghost Supreme fails, whoosh. Wang Kai suddenly turned around and saw the cold face of the Heartless Supreme. Hearing the old man's words and the current situation, he naturally understood his intentions. So, you want to use my life to make up for the Heavenly Ghost Supreme's failure in killing the Heavenly Emperor. Or rather, you can't wait and want to be revived now. Am I right? However, this sect master really wants to tell you that you're finished for scheming against this sect master. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a playful smile. Chapter 596. Cut the crap. Let's end this quickly. Swoosh. Prime Heartless shouted angrily. Her figure was like a swimming dragon as she instantly passed by Wang Kai. She flipped her jade-like hand and stabbed out with her sword. Crack! Puff! Following a series of explosions, the barrier in front of the old man suddenly shattered. The sword directly pierced his heart and came out from his back. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. The old man's eyes were also filled with shock. How dare you release your cultivation? Aren't you afraid that all the disciples of the Heartless Tao sect will die in the reincarnation realm? The old man roared and immediately tapped his walking stick, causing his body to separate from the long sword. Looking at the wisp of blood floating up and the old man's injuries that seemed to be nothing, Wang Kai immediately frowned. Prime Heartless had just used the strength of a supreme being. It was reasonable for her to be able to break the old man's barrier. However, the sword pierced through his heart, but it didn't hurt him at all. Rumble, rumble, crack, crack. Before Wang Kai could figure out, waves of terrifying sounds came from the reincarnation realm. The mountains, rivers, and ground all shook violently. Furthermore, the void was being torn apart continuously. Thunder and lightning could be seen flashing from time to time. As expected of Prime Heartless, you would rather bury the lives of all the disciples of the Heartless Tao sect to kill me? The old man's face darkened, and his eyes were filled with coldness. If an expert of the Supreme Being realm or above wanted to enter the reincarnation realm, they had to suppress their cultivation to below the Supreme Being realm. Moreover, they couldn't use any methods or cultivation that surpassed that of a heavenly emperor in the reincarnation realm. Once used, it could cause the reincarnation realm to collapse and dissipate at any time. If that was the case, none of the cultivators who entered the reincarnation realm would survive. This was also the main reason why Wang Kai didn't use his cultivation just now and directly broke the old man's barrier. If he used his true cultivation, Wang Kai had absolute confidence that he could destroy the reincarnation realm with a single finger. Even if I didn't do this, they would still die. Wang Kai, the heavenly emperor, has already gone to kill the heavenly ghost supreme. Since you've come here, join hands with me. Before Heartless Prime could finish, Wang Kai waved his hand and interrupted him. Patter. Wang Kai waved his fan and smiled casually. There's no need for us to work together. This sect master only needs a shout, and I can kill this trash. Whoosh. Once those words were spoken, Paragon Heartless' eyes narrowed. The old man let out a cold chuckle. Young man, even though I don't have any cultivation or battle prowess, and my defensive barrier can't withstand Prime Heartless full-powered attacks, do you know why I'm guarding this place? Why not the reincarnation blood pool? The old man stroked his beard and mocked. Patter. Wang Kai gently waved his fan and pointed at the pile of rocks under the old man's feet. He said indifferently, Are you trying to say that the Azure Dragon's heart can give you some help? Things will change if we delay. Kill. Swoosh. Paragon Heartless didn't care about the old man's words. He waved his long sword and thrust it forward with all his strength. The sword light was like a clap of thunder, filled with a destructive and merciless aura. Bang! The power of the Azure Dragon strengthened my body. I am the strongest in the world. Buzz! The old man forcefully raised his walking stick and fiercely tapped it on the pile of rubble. As he opened his mouth and softly chanted, the image of an Azure Dragon pierced through the rubble. The body of the Azure Dragon was not huge, only a few meters long. Its eyes were blood red and it did not have any intelligence, as if it was under someone's control. The moment it appeared, it coiled around the old man's body. It opened its mouth and bit the sword light, causing it to scatter in all directions. 8 Desolation, Supreme Realm. I was wondering why you were able to kill so many Supremes when you split your soul into 2 parts. It turns out that you can use the power of the reincarnation realm to enter the 8 Desolation, Supreme Realm. Paragon Heartless' face turned colder. Her eyes were filled with icy, killing intent. Paragon Heartless was prepared to die, but at the same time, she was ready to fight to the death. Wrong. I wasn't the one who killed the Supremes back then. It was the first Heavenly Emperor. This old man just wants to use the Azure Dragon's corpse. The old man straightened his body, and his eyes shone with a bright light. He had changed from his old and decrepit appearance to that of a vigorous dragon and a lively tiger. The old man's cultivation had reached the highest level in the 8 Desolations. You conspired with the Sky Emperor. The Sky Emperor killed the Azure Dragon and gave it to you to use. You used it to step into the 8 Desolates' Supreme Realm. Unfortunately, the first Sky Emperor fell into your trap and is now dead. Wang Kai shrugged, his expression as usual. It was as if the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm was nothing in front of him. Wang Kai's calmness caused Paragon Heartless and the old man's hearts to tremble. So what? The first Heavenly Emperor and the previous 8 Desolation Supremes were just chess pieces on my board. The same goes for the 2 of you. Die. The old man stroked his beard and yelled. Buzz. Roar. Roar. Suddenly, the Azure Dragon's silhouette appeared. It opened its mouth, and a ball of azure light gathered in its mouth. Azure lightning. Whoosh. When the green lightning shot out, Prime Heartless was so shocked that her body stiffened. Faced with such a frightening attack, even she was stunned at this moment. It was an attack that could not be stopped. The Azure Dragon's ultimate skill. What green thunder and red thunder. Look at my second kick. Whoosh. Just as Paragon Heartless was about to die, she heard Wang Kai's casual laughter. Her body suddenly felt warm as Wang Kai hugged her tightly. Bang! Buzz! Wang Kai gently lifted his foot and kicked. The green lightning disappeared without a trace. It was as if it had never appeared in the first place. This, Paragon Heartless was dumbfounded. She even forgot that she was in Wong Kai's embrace. She even forgot that Wong Kai was squeezing her buttocks. When he looked at the old man again, he was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. The walking stick in his hand fell to the ground involuntarily, letting out clattering sounds. Azure Dragon Supremacy. If you don't wake up now, when are you going to wake up? Whoosh! Wong Kai flipped his hand and took out the green dragon token. He threw it at the green dragon illusionary figure, causing the green dragon illusionary figure's body to curl up. The blood color in the dragon's eyes gradually disappeared. Roar! Within the Azure Dragon Dao tablet, a low and deep roar was also emitted. A similar Azure Dragon illusion floated out from within. My body is already dead. Although this token still has a strand of consciousness, it can't save anyone. Old ancestor, quickly wake up. Don't be controlled by this vile person. The Azure Dragon's figure in the Azure Dragon token opened its mouth and roared in a deep voice. Bastard! Suddenly, the old man roared in anger. His figure arrived in front of the Azure Dragon's figure, and he raised his hand to take control of it again. Bastard your grandpa. Settle your grandpa's debt. Go back and lie down. Bang! Woo! However, before the old man could succeed, he was kicked by Wong Kai, causing him to vomit blood and fly back. His body, which was originally full of vigor, instantly became old and feeble. I've already said that I used the second kick. Destroying the Azure Lightning was only the first kick. Wong Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with an indifferent smile. Chapter 597. Take your hand away, Prime Heartless said coldly. She held her sword tightly. Her eyes were icy. If she was not aware that she was no match for Wong Kai, she would have swung her sword and slashed at him. After fighting with Wong Kai a few times, Prime Heartless was aware of Wong Kai's shameless personality. If she were to fall out with him, Wong Kai might do something that would embarrass her with his overwhelming cultivation. She did not feel anything. Could it be that she was made of stone? Wong Kai frowned when he saw this. He couldn't help but pinch even harder. Only after the Heartless Sovereign's murderous intent was completely exposed did he withdraw his hand. Prime Heartless' expression was still cold and emotionless. Although she was angry, she did not look like a woman who was being molested. Heartless, her feelings were gone. Sai, look at you. You've been acting cool for half a day, and you've even talked to me for half a day. In the end, you've achieved nothing. You can't even withstand a kick from me. Your 100,000 years of hard work has been wasted in a single move. You should be pissed to death, Wong Kai shrugged and said with a sigh. Wah. Once those words were said, the old man's complexion immediately turned ashen. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was truly enraged by Wong Kai's words. At first, he was still leisurely describing his plan and strategy. But when everything was about to succeed, it was all destroyed by a brat who didn't care at all. Cough, cough, who exactly are you? What's your cultivation? Why? Why didn't the realm of reincarnation collapse? Why? The old man raised his head and screamed like a mad demon. His body even began to crack as he trembled violently. It felt like his old bones were going to shatter at any second. This scene caused the corners of Wong Kai's mouth to twitch slightly. He involuntarily waved his fan and sighed. Look at your appearance. So what if you have been reborn and taken over another person's body? In the end, you'll still turn into a pile of dust. Why bother? As for who this sect master is and what realm I am at, if I'm not strong, I can turn the sky into dregs. If I'm not weak, I can turn the earth into sand. The creator of the universe, Wong Kai. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Wah. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man was so angry that he vomited blood and fell to the ground. His face was extremely distorted as he glared at Wong Kai. He raised his trembling arm and said in a hoarse voice, It's all your fault, cough, cough. Wong. Bang. Suddenly, Wong Kai flipped the folding fan in his hand and swung it across the air. Immediately, the old man's body was sent flying and crashed into a pile of rocks. What does this have to do with this sect master? I originally wanted to respect the old and love the young, but you're too old. You're a person from over 100,000 years ago. You're not strong enough to scheme against others and ended up in such a state. You're clearly the one who asked for it, okay? Wang Kai frowned and sneered with disdain. Heavenly Ghost, back then you incited the Celestial Emperor to kill me without hesitation. Now that I've fallen to this state, it can be considered karma. However, I have outstanding descendants. As for you, forget it. I can finally rest in peace. Roar. After the Azure Dragon's figure completely regained its consciousness, it roared a few times in a low voice. Then it coiled its body and rushed into the sky. Finally, it disappeared into thin air. Only the dragon's roar reverberated in the void and did not dissipate. Azure Dragon Sovereign, you are. Bang. The old man was so angry that his body suddenly stiffened. His head tilted to the side, and he died on the spot. Even though he was dead, his eyes were still wide open. It could be seen that he died with his eyes wide open. After receiving repeated blows from Wang Kai and the final words of the already dead Azure Dragon Prime, Xiao Qin's heart was deeply shaken. Although there were many ghost cultivators in the Soul Break Valley, how could the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign have any descendants? How could there be any inheritors? However, the Azure Dragon Sovereign was different. The Azure Dragon Hall that he had established was still a sovereign faction. Moreover, all the disciples were of the Azure Dragon clan. There were no experts from other clans mixed in. The first soul of the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign has been destroyed. Now, there's only the second soul left. I wonder if the Heavenly Emperor will succeed. Prime Heartless frowned as a cold light flashed in her beautiful eyes. A fake Heavenly Emperor to kill the real Heavenly Ghost Sovereign. She really dared to kill him. Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. With a flip of his hand, the Azure Dragon Dao token appeared in his hand. Then, he sneered, "Looks like I should have settled the matter of the reincarnation blood pool earlier. If the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign really dies in the hands of the Heavenly Emperor..." Whoosh. Hearing this, Prime Heartless frowned even more. Seeing that Wang Kai was about to leave, she immediately drew out her sword and placed it in front of him. The succession of the Azure Dragon is right here. The Dao token is the only key to open it. Don't you want it? Prime Heartless said with a frown. The succession of the Azure Dragon, the so-called 5 Emperor Dao tokens represented the graves of the deceased supremes in the reincarnation realm. No, I'll give it to you. Wang Kaisin came to a realization. He casually tossed the Blue Dragon Dao badge to Heartless Prime like he was tossing a piece of trash. Seeing this, Prime Heartless' eyes flickered rapidly as she stared at the Azure Dragon Dao token floating in front of her. Her eyes were filled with hesitation. However, as Wang Kai was about to leave, Prime Heartless gave up on taking the Azure Dragon Dao token. She once again raised her sword and stopped Wang Kai. What are you trying to do? Are you done yet? I touched your butt, but you didn't let me touch it. I'm leaving, but you still won't let me go. Do you want me to stay, and do you? Wang Kai frowned and said impatiently, "You." Prime Heartless' eyes suddenly froze when she heard this. Her jade-like hand that was holding the long sword trembled slightly in anger. The cold pressure of the Heartless Dao immediately swept out in all directions. However, in Wang Kai's eyes, this kind of pressure was not the slightest bit intimidating. That's enough. This sect master is such an outstanding individual. I really don't have the time to bicker and brag with you here. If there comes a day when you're prepared to cleanse yourself and offer your body, then open your mouth and stop this sect master. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. After speaking, he stepped into the air. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Buzz. Swoosh. Crack. However, before Wang Kai could leave, just as he stepped into the void, his back was slashed by Prime Heartless sword light. However, the sword light shattered and dissipated. The clothes on Wang Kai's back were also torn apart. but there was not the slightest injury. Not even a scratch was left on his back. Seeing this scene, Prime Heartless frowned even more. She was shocked by the strength of Wang Kai's physical body. She had no choice but to hurriedly speak to calm Wang Kai's anger. Wang Kai, don't misunderstand. The reincarnation blood pond isn't as easy as you think it is. I'm sure you've noticed it over the past few days. Paragon Heartless said calmly. Chapter 598. Misunderstanding? Misunderstanding my ass. Whoosh! Wang Kai scolded angrily. He turned around and landed on the ground. He raised his hands and grabbed Heartless Prime's wrists. You? What are you going to do? Wang Kai raised his hands. Heartless Prime's arms were raised high into the sky, making her chest seem even more firm. What do you think? If it weren't for my sturdy body, I would have vomited a lot of blood from that slash, right? Not only did you fail, you even made a misunderstanding. I'll make you misunderstand. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai furrowed his eyebrows and formed a claw with his free hand. He ruthlessly tore off Heartless Sovereign's clothes and even her undergarments and undergarments. Whoosh! When Prime Heartless' alluring figure was exposed to the air, Wang Kai immediately held his breath. I swear I'll kill you. The Heartless Sovereign's face was bone-chillingly cold. His eyes, which were filled with bone-piercing, killing intent, swept over Wang Kai. In the blink of an eye, he slowly closed his eyes. Her face was calm, as if she had accepted her fate. Her body did not tremble at all. However, Wang Kai knew that she no longer cared about what he would do to her. She only wanted to live and kill him cruelly. Wang Kai was startled. He reached out his hand to touch her, but it froze in the air. He was not afraid of Heartless Prime's revenge, but his family and friends were. Sometimes concern was the weakness of any expert. Wang Kai was no exception to this custom. Thinking of this, Wang Kai could only sigh in his heart. It seems like I can only act tough and be a gentleman for once. Whoosh! With a flip of his hand, Wang Kai ruthlessly slapped Heartless Prime's buttocks. That crisp sound, that bouncing flesh, and that warm and soft sensation were truly enough to make one's soul ecstasy. However, that was all he could do at this moment. Heartless Sovereign, you must first think this through properly. You were the one who launched a sneak attack on this sect master, not the other way around. Do you understand? Wang Kai loosened his grip and released Heartless Sovereign. Whoosh! Heartless Prime opened her eyes when she heard this. She stood there completely naked, unlike ordinary women who would use their hands to cover their bodies. You're scared, aren't you? Heartless Prime sneered. Scared. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyebrows suddenly twisted, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He gripped the folding fan tightly and stared at her without a trace of emotion. He said in a deep voice, Do you think this sect master is really afraid of you? Whoosh! Seeing such a cold and emotionless appearance, the Heartless Prime was startled. It was as if the person in front of him was a mirror that reflected his own reflection. She had never seen Wang Kai like this before. As a result, he was momentarily stunned. She was not scared. She was shocked. Since you're Yun Feiqing's master, I won't kill you. However, I'll take off your clothes to teach you a lesson for attacking me. If you continue to push your luck, you'll know that death is nothing but an extravagant hope. Wang Kai said coldly. After saying those words, Wang Kai soared into the sky. However, before he could leave, he was once again stopped by the Heartless Sovereign. Whoosh! Prime Heartless was naked. Her jade feet were in the air, and she spread her arms to block Wang Kai's path. Wang Kai was dazzled by the sight of the white rabbit that was still bouncing in the air. Looking down again, there was a dense, Heartless Prime. Don't go too far. Do you believe that this religion master won't kill you first? Wang Kai clenched his teeth and said angrily. If this continued, Wang Kai would not be able to control himself. He would kill her on the spot. Whoosh! Heartless Prime's eyes were still cold. She took out a dress and put it on. Then, she said indifferently, With your cultivation, you should be able to find the exact location of the reincarnation blood pool with your divine soul. However, you're wrong. You won't be able to reach it. Won't be able to reach it? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but take back his gaze with regret. Just now, he couldn't help but want her to disappear from his sight. But now that she was wearing a dress, he suddenly wanted to see her again. What do you mean? Tell me quickly. I really don't want to see you right now. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and turned his back to her with an impatient expression. Rip! Suddenly, the sound of clothes being torn was heard. Wang Kai turned around and saw Heartless Prime tearing apart her dress. This was not the situation that he had imagined. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Wang Kai's face darkened as he said angrily. When the Heartless Sovereign heard this, he indifferently glanced at him. After he finished tying the belt of the dress, he indifferently said, It's just that your thoughts are dirty. You. Good. Not bad. I hope you can go to the Tianzhou continent. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled mockingly. As long as Heartless Prime went to the Tianzhou continent, she would never have the chance to hurt the people he cared about. When that time comes, wouldn't it be up to him to do whatever he wanted to her? Of course I will go to the Tianzhou continent. I hope you will as well. Heartless Prime said coldly. She did not hide the murderous intent in her eyes at all. Clap. Wang Kai immediately clapped when he heard that. He raised his eyebrows and praised. Good, not bad. You have guts and personality. Tell me, how can I go to the reincarnation blood pool? It's very simple. Take out the 10 keys hidden in the reincarnation world where the 10 sovereigns died. When that time comes, you can go to the reincarnation blood pool at any time and obtain the sovereign's inheritance. Heartless Prime said indifferently. I see. No wonder I couldn't reach the reincarnation blood pool, even though I could see it. There was another world in the reincarnation world. A world within a world? If it weren't for Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others in the reincarnation world, Wang Kai would have destroyed the reincarnation world with a single punch. It would have saved him a lot of trouble. If that's the case, what are we waiting for? This sect master has 4 Tao tablets here. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a proud smile. Buzz. As soon as his words left his mouth, Wang Kai took out the 4 Tao tablets under Heartless Prime's astonished gaze. Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, and Qilin. Wang Kai finally understood why the Qilin's Tao tablet had appeared at the same time as the 4 divine beasts. The reason was that Heavenly Ghost Prime did not leave behind any inheritance. He had chosen to let the Qilin die in his place. 4 Tao tablets. You actually have such great luck and opportunity. Unfortunately, you are still missing the vermilion bird. But that's fine. With 4 keys and your cultivation, you can take all the remaining keys, Heartless Prime said indifferently. Chapter 599. What a joke. Do I need to use my cultivation to plunder? As long as I am willing, I only need to wave my sleeves. Isn't it a matter of minutes? Wang Kai curled his lips and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Minutes, a matter of waving his hand. Heartless Sovereign's eyes turned colder and colder when he heard this. He directly chose to ignore him and stood there quietly. He said indifferently, Sect Leader Wang, since the Azure Dragon Dao token is in your hands, then let's do it. How do I do it? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. He held the Azure Dragon Dao token and asked with some doubt. Swish! As soon as these words were spoken, even Heartless Sovereign widened her beautiful eyes and stared blankly at Wang Kai. Since he didn't know, why was he still pretending? Could it be that pretending in front of a woman was very satisfying? Just throw the Azure Dragon Dao token into the pile of rocks. At that time, forget it. Let's do it. Heartless Sovereign said indifferently. Hearing this, Wang Kai gently nodded. He held the Azure Dragon Dao token and played with it nonstop. With a playful expression, he said with a smile, Actually, I already knew. Just now, I was just testing your sincerity. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Testing sincerity? Heartless Sovereign's killing intent was immediately revealed. He immediately sneered mercilessly. Wang Kai, This sovereign's intention to kill you will not change. Moreover, with your cultivation, this sovereign cannot scheme against you. This is the reincarnation realm. You can easily break it. How can you test sincerity? Why are you so agitated? This sect leader was just bragging. This made you so agitated. Sigh. It seems that this sect leader's bragging skills have reached another level. He can even affect other people's emotions. Wang Kai shrugged and sighed with emotion. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the first stage of the Heavenly General Realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully reaching the Heavenly General Realm and stepping into the threshold of the Heavenly Martial Artist. Congratulations to host for successfully reaching the Heavenly General Realm. Your heavenly energy has been upgraded to level 2. Host, Wang Kai class, Heavenly Martial Artist Realm. First grade Heavenly General Dao Technique. The Way of Bragging Divine Ability. Luck Deprivation Technique. Great Summoning Technique Equipment. Tong Tian Tower. Ever-Changing Fan Power of Heaven. Level 2 Star Source Points. 0 Physique. Invulnerable Guardian Spirit Beast. None Bragging Points. 15500 Experience. 0600000 Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard the notification. He didn't notice that Heartless Prime, who was trembling with anger, had a cold look in her eyes. She wanted nothing more than to tear Wang Kai apart. How infuriating! My experience has increased by 100,000, and my power of heaven has been upgraded to level 2. The 12 revolutions of the Silver Moon has disappeared, leaving only the Great Summoning Technique and the Luck Deprivation Technique of the 3,000 Great Ways. Wang Kai frowned and glanced at it casually before closing it with his mind. Since the Great Summoning Art and the Providence Deprivation Art of the 3,000 Great Tao still exist, why aren't the Yellow Spring Sand Sea and other arts of the 3,000 Great Tao recorded in the records? Wang Kai asked in surprise. Host, the system only records the top 10 techniques and divine abilities of the 3,000 Great Ways. The rest are not qualified, but the host can cultivate and use them. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai came to a realization. The 3,000 Great Ways were also ranked, and the Great Summoning Technique and the Luck Deprivation Technique were ranked in the top 10. Even if one could cultivate and use the techniques of the Great Ways outside of the top 10, they would not be recorded by the system. Heavenly Soldier Realm, Heavenly General Realm. What else is there after that? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and asked with a surprised expression. Host, the realm you are in is called the One Heavenly Realm. It belongs to the first level of the 3 heavenly realms. In order, it is Heavenly Soldier, Heavenly General, and Heavenly Origin. Just as Wang Kai was waiting for the system to tell him the next realm, there was no sound for a long time. Such a situation immediately caused Wang Kai's forehead to be filled with black lines. Even the system has learned to keep people in suspense. How unlucky! The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched violently as he snorted speechlessly. He then flipped his hand and threw the Azure Dragon, Dao, token into the pile of rocks. Wang! Ayo! Suddenly, a deep dragon roar resounded, and the pile of rubble began to rumble and tremble incessantly. Gradually, the entrance to an underground passage appeared in front of him. How troublesome! Heartless Prime, go down and take out the key. The Azure Dragon's inheritance and treasures are all yours. Wang Kai shrugged and waved his hand impatiently. It would be impolite to refuse. Heartless Prime's eyes narrowed when she heard this. She swept a glance full of ridicule at Wang Kai before her figure disappeared into the passage in a flash. Wang Kai didn't care about this at all. No matter how awesome the Azure Dragon Sovereign's inheritance was, he didn't care about it at all. Whoosh! In less than 100 breaths, Heartless Prime's figure passed through the passage. She flipped her jade-like hand and threw a green palm-sized key to Wang Kai. Patter! Wang Kai was rather surprised when he saw this. He received the key and sized it up. he discovered that the key was definitely 5,000 kilograms in weight. The Heavenly Ghost Sovereign sure knows how to play. He purposely left the key and Sovereign's inheritance for the successors of the various sovereign factions to fight over it, while he happily killed the sovereign experts to achieve his goal. Wang Kai shrugged and inwardly laughed. Wrong. The reason why the reincarnation blood pool is called the reincarnation blood pool is because it requires the fresh blood of all the cultivators who have entered the reincarnation realm. Over the past 10 generations, countless people have been buried here. The only ones who were able to walk out in the end were the next generation of sovereigns. Only 10 people. Heartless Prime said indifferently. Only 10 people had walked out of the reincarnation realm in the past. What was the use of that? Even if they became sovereigns, wouldn't they still be killed by the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign after 10,000 years? From the beginning to the end, the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign had benefited. What about the Azure Dragon Sovereign's inheritance? What about the treasures? Don't tell me there aren't any. Wang Kai's brows twisted as he sized her up in surprise. However, he didn't discover anything. Heartless Prime frowned slightly upon hearing this. Her eyes were filled with disdain and killing intent as she flipped her hand and took out a green box. She coldly said, I knew that you didn't mean what you said. Stop, stop, stop. This sect master was just casually asking. In terms of treasures and inheritances, this sect master has been able to create them since young. In this world, there are pitifully few things that can catch this sect master's eye. Except for women. Especially a woman like you, who is cold to the bone. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled with a rather licentious expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Since you've already obtained a key from the Azure Dragon Sovereign, let's go to the Phoenix Crime Mountain and the Phoenix Arena next. That's where the Vermilion Bird Sovereign and the Phoenix Venerable fell. Heartless Prime said indifferently. That's right, that's right. The colder you are, the more this sect master likes it. The more I look forward to the scene when I reach the Tianzhou region in the future. One night at a time. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. As soon as he finished speaking, he gently fanned himself and stepped into the air. Heartless Prime snorted coldly and followed after him. Chapter 600. Phoenix Crime Mountain, Phoenix Arena. After a series of battles, there were close to 10,000 corpses lying on the huge Phoenix Arena. Most of them were earthly venerables and below. Hundreds of heavenly venerables were killed or injured. At this moment, Fatso Lu and the others were panting heavily. Their bodies were covered in blood, and they were surrounded by many powerhouses. They had killed until their hands went limp. Even the pure Yang overlord body, Yang Wei, was panting heavily. Looking at the green and red ghosts, Kanrin and Fatso Lu, they were already bent over, panting as they scanned the surrounding experts. The only ones who could still stand without bending over were Lung Feng and Yang Wei. The two of them seemed to be competing with each other. Even though they were exhausted, they did not bend over. Even though the long sword and fists in their hands were shaking, they did not show any intention of retreating. On the other hand, the successors of the powerhouses from various forces were frightened by Yang Wei and the others. Until now, they did not dare to charge forward. They could only look at each other, waiting for the one who stood out to take the initiative to attack. Even though they could see how weak Fatso Lu and the others were, they did not dare to charge forward. After all, the 10,000 corpses lying on the ground were not fake. Among them, hundreds of peak heavenly venerables were not fake. The people from Discord sect are too strong, too ruthless. If only the famous Wang Kai was here. God, such thoughts appeared in everyone's minds. For a moment, they were so frightened that their hearts were beating violently. Their expressions suddenly became ruthless. Everyone, let's attack together. They obviously can't hold on for long. If Wang Kai, the sect leader of Discord sect, comes, I'm afraid. An elder said with a frown. As soon as he said that, everyone's hearts were stirred. They nodded immediately, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent as they gripped their weapons tightly. Ha ha! There is no need for the sect leader to come. I, Yang Wei, can kill all of you. Cough, cough. I'll kill all of you. Yang Wei looked up and laughed, his face pale. On the other hand, Lung Feng chose to remain silent. The long sword in his hand was a clear indication of his determination to fight to the death. Even though they had agreed to split the work to obtain the fruit of earth, it was still difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. No matter how strong they were, they could not fight against tens of thousands of people at the same time. After all, in the reincarnation realm, no matter how strong you were, you could only unleash the power of a peak heavenly venerable. And peak Empyrean powerhouses present were not in the minority. Moreover, there were other experts assisting and interfering from the side. So, it was undoubtedly as difficult as ascending to the heavens to escape. Haha, if senior brother arrives at this time, wouldn't we have no chance to kill him? Canron licked his lips and grinned with a sinister expression. On the side, Fatso Lu's big face trembled when he heard this. He panted and said, Uncle Wang, you better come over quickly. Uncle Lu would rather kill 2 less people, damn it. Fatty, with no ambition. Green Ghost snorted disdainfully. Red Wraith also pursed his lips and said with a disdainful smile, And you say that you're the sect master's brother who grew up together. With your guts? Everyone, let's attack together. Kill, kill, kill. Rumble, rumble. In an instant, the figures of many experts flashed. Their terrifying battle auras were unleashed together, causing the entire Fallen Phoenix arena to tremble. Who are we killing? Whoosh! Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, before those experts could get close, they heard a thunderous laughter explode beside their ears. Immediately, it shook many experts, causing them to involuntarily stop their attacks and raise their heads to look at the sky. High up in the sky, Wang Kai's white robes fluttered without any wind. His handsome face, starry eyes, sword-like eyebrows, and he gently waved a folding fan in his hand. He appeared calm and unfathomable. He was extremely dashing. Beside him, Heartless Prime's figure was graceful. Her beautiful face was filled with bone-chilling coldness. She held a horsetail whisk in her jade-like hand and looked down with picturesque eyes. At first glance, they looked like an immortal couple. However, in the eyes of the crowd, Wang Kai and Heartless Prime were as frightening as nightmares. Wang Kai, the sect leader of the heavenly sect. Wang Kai, no, that's Heartless Prime. Why is she with Wang Kai? Have they teamed up? Heavens, Wang Kai is already stronger than a 9 Heaven Supreme, and with Heartless Prime, it's over for us. Ding dang, bang bang. At that instant, the sound of armor being thrown to the ground could be heard. The crowd subconsciously threw their weapons to the ground and fell to the ground as if they had lost all their strength. Some of them even started to tremble. It was as if they had gone insane. Ha ha, you're finally here. Such an aura, such an entrance, TSK, impressive. However, you're still a little weaker than me. Seeing this, Fatso Lu was overjoyed. While he secretly breathed a sigh of relief, he could not help but brag. Lung Feng, Yang Wei, and the Red Ghost were relieved too. If Wang Kai did not show up, they would surely lose if the battle continued. Even though they would still be able to kill many experts, they would still end up dead in the end. That was the truth, but they could not afford to lose face. Hee, Patriarch, you've come at the wrong time. I was planning to kill a few more. Yang Wei swung his arm and raised his hand to wipe the blood on his lips. He looked extremely ferocious. He was comparable to Duan Dao. That's right. Lung Feng shook his sword and said in a cold tone, Ha ha, these people are not enough for me to devour. The Red Ghost and the Green Ghost exchanged glances with one another and burst out laughing. However, after saying this, they sat on the ground and began to adjust their breathing. They thought that with Wang Kai's arrival, they would definitely win this battle. Well, not bad. You're worthy of being a member of the Discord sect. You're good at bragging. But compared with this sect master's skill, no, It's rare to find someone who can stand shoulder to shoulder with this sect master. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You've gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. The Kuan spirit tree and the fruit of earth are all gone? Suddenly, Heartless Prime's beautiful eyes narrowed as she looked at the empty Kuan spirit tree in surprise. Where was the fruit of earth on it? Even the branches and leaves had been stripped clean. There was even a cut at the root. It was likely that it would be impossible for him to bear another fruit. Hee, I was too anxious just now. I accidentally chopped the Kuan spirit tree to death. Duan Dao licked his lips and smiled ferociously. Oh, we've collected all the fruit of earth. Fatso Lu waved his hand and said. The green ghost and the red ghost also echoed. We've also collected most of them. We've also collected the branches and leaves. As soon as these words came out, Heartless Prime's forehead was full of black lines. She immediately glared at Wang Kai with disdain. If it weren't for her fear of his cultivation, she really wanted to say, Are you all bandits? You won't even let go of the branches and leaves? Looking at the resentful looks of the experts, it was understandable that they would not let them go even if they died. If it were anyone else, they would not let Fatso Lu and the others go. Chapter 601. Ha! We haven't seen each other for many years, but your character of bragging still hasn't changed. Fatso Lu shook his big belly and stood up with a loud laugh. They really knew each other? Yang Wei and the green and red ghosts looked at each other and were speechless. At first, they thought that Fatso Lu was talking nonsense and that they had saved him out of convenience. Now, it seemed that he was really close to Wang Kai. Well, I didn't expect you to come to the 8 Barren Land. It's been 4 years, right? Not bad. You have reached the peak Heavenly Master level. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a smile. Yang Wei and the green and red ghosts expressed their disdain for him. Sect Master, you don't know that he could reach the peak Heavenly Master level because he secretly swallowed more than a dozen fruit of earth. Green Ghost said, curling his lips. Seeing this, Red Wraith was even more afraid that Wang Kai did not know what the fruit of earth was capable of. He immediately added, one fruit of earth can instantly break through a grade. This is indeed true. As the Arhat of the Golden Cicada Temple, he entered the reincarnation realm more than 10 days before us. If we calculate the time, it should be more than 10 years. Yang Wei pinched his wrist and said in an indignant tone, if not for the help, they did not think that Fatso Lu could break through so quickly. After all, he had gotten to know Fatso Lu a lot during their journey here. Nonsense. You speak as if you didn't eat it. Fatso Lu glared at them and snorted in an unfriendly tone. The green and red ghosts were speechless. Indeed, they had swallowed a few. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for them to reach the peak Heavenly Master level so quickly. Even Yang Wei had swallowed a few of them. It was just that they did not swallow as many as Fatso Lu. Wang Kai did not care about this at all. No matter how powerful the fruit of earth was, it was useless to him. Lung Feng, Kanrin, I didn't expect you to come to the 8 Barren Land and enter the reincarnation realm more than 10 days before us. Which supreme force have you joined? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked curiously. Papa. Kanrin raised his hand and slapped his bald head. He grinned and said, White Tiger Palace, Soul-Shattering Valley. Lung Feng replied in an indifferent manner. Even though they had not seen each other for a long time, Lung Feng was still as cold as ever. Wang Kai, who understood his personality, naturally didn't mind. Instead, he was rather curious about the faction he had joined. The Soul-Shattering Valley has become the disciple of the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a rather strange expression. In his heart, he was more or less worried. In the Soul-Breaking Valley, the first ghost cultivator to enter the reincarnation realm must have a very high status. Thus, becoming a disciple of Heavenly Ghost Sovereign was the most direct method. If Lung Feng really was Supreme Heavenly Ghost Disciple, and he had just destroyed Supreme Heavenly Ghost's first avatar, cutting off his path of reincarnation, he's not qualified to be my master, Lung Feng said coldly. Hearing this, Wang Kai breathed a sigh of relief. If Lung Feng really was Supreme Heavenly Ghost disciple, how could he explain the matter of killing Supreme Heavenly Ghost? My big brother was able to enter the reincarnation realm, not because he became Supreme Heavenly Ghost disciple, but because, shut up. Before Qinren could finish his words, Lung Feng, who was standing by the side, had already stopped him with a frown. His eyes were filled with anger and coldness. In response, Qinren only shrugged and didn't say anything else. You bastard Lung Feng. As my ghost servant, you actually left without permission and didn't come to find me for many days. What crime do you think you deserve? Swoosh. Suddenly, a sharp reprimand rang out, causing Wang Kai and the others to be stunned. They raised their heads and looked at the void in the distance. Over there, four figures were rushing over. The one who was leading the group was also a familiar face. Immortal Martial Domain, Underworld Province, the son of Emperor Ming, the master of the 9 nether cold flames, the king of the underworld, Ming Yi, ghost servant. Lung Feng was actually Ming Ye's ghost servant. No wonder he stopped Qinren and told him the truth. I was just about to look for you. Since you're here, then die. Swoosh. Lung Feng snorted coldly. With a tap of his foot, he stepped into the air and brandished his long sword. He thrust it out and faced Ming Yi, who was rapidly approaching. Presumptuous. How dare a mere ghost servant be so arrogant? Swoosh. The 3 ghost cultivators behind Ming Yi shouted in unison. Their bodies moved and passed by Ming Yi. They waved their hands and shot out streaks of pitch-black death chi. Buzz. Bang. Bang. However, under Lung Feng's sword, the streaks of death chi were like decorations. They were directly pierced by the sword light and scattered. Even the 3 ghost cultivators' bodies exploded, turning into a rain of blood that rained down from the sky. Lung Feng's current cultivation was comparable to that of the outside world. Coupled with the fruit of earth, he had reached the peak of the heavenly master realm. Compared to the 3 ghost cultivators who had just stepped into the heavenly master realm, he was much stronger. Although ghost cultivators were dead, they still had the talent of the ghost way. There were also differences in their strength. The death of the 3 ghost cultivators and Lung Feng's powerful cultivation did not make Ming Yi feel the slightest bit of fear. There was only surprise. Peak of the heavenly master realm. Not bad. You're only 1 step away from me. Get back here and be a good ghost servant. When the heavenly ghost master comes back to life and enters Tianzhou, I will bring you along with me, Ming Yi said flatly. Swoosh. Hearing this, Lung Feng did not say anything. His body did not slow down. The long sword in his hand continuously slashed at Ming Yi. 7 ultimate swords, 7 ultimate sky slash. Swoosh. 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 In an instant, 7 streaks of pitch-black sword light formed from death chi, lined up in a row, and pierced toward Ming Yi. After using this move, even Lung Feng, who was at the peak of the heavenly master realm, turned pale. His body swayed in the air. It was obvious that he had used all his combat strength. Now, he could only barely maintain his footing in the air. Looks like you still haven't experienced the uniqueness of the mystical flame. Since that's the case, I'll let you experience it once again. Destroy. Wang. Puff, puff, puff. Suddenly, as soon as Ming Ye's voice fell, streams of purple flames attacked. The bone-chilling temperature instantly spread for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Whether it was the mountains, rivers, grass, trees, earth, or even any living being, everything was sealed in ice. Their life force also disappeared in an instant. Under this move, all the cultivators of the various forces within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles were annihilated. There were tens of thousands of them. The cultivators that were chased out of Fengming Mountain by Wang Kai also turned into ice sculptures and died miserably. The only ones who were unharmed were Wang Kai and the others on the fallen Phoenix Terrace. Under the suppression of Wang Kai's cultivation, the 9 Serenity's cold flame was unable to get close to Fengming Mountain. Looking from afar, hundreds of thousands of miles were frozen. Only the Phoenix Crime Mountain in the center was still green and lush. Bang, bang, bang. Crack, crack. At this moment, Lung Feng was naturally not affected. However, the 7 ultimate swords that he had slashed out were being frozen and shattered one by one. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the 7 ultimate swords were broken. If the 7 ultimate swords were broken, Lung Feng would also be frozen and killed in an instant. Chapter 602. Sect Leader. Should we go over and help him? Green Ghost asked with a frown. Red Ghost and Yang Wei were both tempted to do so. Putting aside the fact that Lung Feng and Wang Kai were old acquaintances, just the fact that they had fought side by side meant that Lung Feng couldn't just stand by and watch. On the other hand, Fatty Lu and Can Run were extremely calm. They raised their heads and watched the battle in the sky without saying a word. There's no need for that. This battle is a grudge between Lung Feng and Ming Yi. Even Lung Feng would not allow us to interfere in a battle to end it. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with an indifferent smile. Green Ghost and Red Ghost and Yang Wei could not help but look at each other. It was not that they did not understand what Wang Kai meant, but of the 7 sword lights in the sky, 2 were gone, and now only 3 were left. Especially Ming Yi, whose face was as calm as usual. His appearance made Yang Wei and the Green and Red Ghosts frown. If this continued, Lung Feng would definitely be the one to lose. Without the help of the mysterious fire, Ming Yi would not be Lung Feng's match no matter how talented he was. But the mysterious fire was too powerful. Big Brother has never liked others interfering in his matters. Now that he has come to the 8 Desolates, this will not change. If you interfere, even if you save Big Brother, he will not be grateful. He will only want to kill you. Kinrin licked his lips and sneered ferociously. Swoosh! Yang Wei and Green Ghost's mouths twitched when they heard this. They speechlessly glanced at Lung Feng in the sky, curled their lips, and turned their heads away. You want to save face and suffer. Yang Wei snorted. He hates us for saving someone. What a weirdo. Green Ghost curled his lips and said, Furthermore, even if we were to save him, would he be able to defeat us? Red Wraith added. Yang Wei and Green Ghost snorted in response. Their faces were filled with disdain. Haha, Wang Kai, they're indeed the ones who founded your sect. Their bragging skills are really good. Kinren licked his lips and sneered disdainfully. Whoosh! Hearing this, the red and green demons, and even Yang Wei turned their gazes and stared coldly at Remnant Blade. You're not convinced? Yang Wei clenched his fists and said coldly. Papa! Kinren slapped his bald head and grinned. I'm not convinced. Fight! Wang! Suddenly, Yang Wei let out a loud roar, raised his fist, and took the lead to smash the broken blade. Oomph! Did you grow up eating excrement? Such a weak fist. Bang! Ding dang! Broken Blade raised his broken black saber and blocked Yang Wei's fist with the back of the saber. It's just a piece of scrap metal. Watch as this Hall Master shatters it. Whoosh! Crack! Gritting his teeth, Yang Wei clenched his fists and unleashed his battle chi without holding back. Even the void cracked under the force of his punch. Hee, this blade has been with me for many years. I can't let you break it just like that. Kenrin licked his lips, pulled back his saber, and stepped into the air. Then today I, the Hall Master, will destroy it. Whoosh! Yang Wei sneered, turned into a ray of light, and flew up into the sky. Seeing this, Kenrin quickly moved his feet and dodged. The two of them exchanged blows in the air, and the distance between them increased. However, they were heading in the direction where Ming Yi and Lung Feng were. Even a fool would be able to tell that he was clearly trying to take advantage of the situation to help them. The green and red demons looked at each other, speechless. However, they secretly felt that it was interesting. The green and red ghosts laughed softly in unison as they thought of this. Their bodies suddenly flashed and arrived behind Fatty Lu. Both of them lifted their legs and kicked out. Damn Fatso. Aren't you with Kinren? If that's the case, leave Kinren to Hall Master Yang, and leave you to us. Bang. F***CK. Fatso Lu was caught off guard. His butt was kicked, and his body was sent flying into the air. Fatso Lu, who was a few hundred pounds heavy, was like a ball of meat, spinning rapidly in the air. Green and red demons, if I don't kill you today, I won't be called the second boasting god. Fatso Lu stopped, rubbed his butt, and shouted angrily. With a wave of his hand, he released the reincarnation fire. The green and red demons' mouths twitched. They thought that Fatso Lu would understand their intention to attack. However, it seemed that he did not understand at all. They did not know that it was not that Fatso Lu did not understand, but that the previous 2 kicks had really made him angry. Although Fatso Lu was prepared to fight, he cooperated with the green and red demons and gradually shifted the battle circle to Lung Feng. Why do you have to go through so much trouble? Won't it be faster for you to attack? With that young man's cultivation, he won't be able to defeat you even if he spends his entire life. Heartless Prime said coldly, and her eyes were filled with disdain. If it was her, Ming Yi would have died long ago. As for Lung Feng's hatred, she did not care at all. Hee, you are a heartless bitch. Do you know anything? Or do you know anything? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile, Yaya, yaya, yaya. Kind brother, I am hungry. Give me something to eat. I'm going to devour them all. The little white beast, which was originally taking a nap on Wang Kai's shoulder, suddenly opened its eyes at this moment. Its pure and innocent eyes were currently filled with urgency. One had to admit that this heaven-devouring beast was quite interesting. It even found the right opportunity to claim credit. However, Wang Kai raised his hand and patted it gently. He said with a smile, We agreed that you're only allowed to eat once a day. There is no room for discussion. If you say any more nonsense, I will eat you. Yaya, yaya. Kind brother, are you also a heaven-devouring beast? Do you know where our tribe is? How did you become like this? What is your name? I am Little White, or you can be Little Black. Whoosh! Following the little white beast's barrage of words, black lines appeared on Wang Kai's forehead as he listened. At first, he did not realize that it was so talkative. However, it was talkative now that it was talking about its tribe. It could be seen that even though Wang Kai could give it the heavenly force to devour, it was still cautious in its heart. It did not completely trust Wang Kai. Bastard, do you think you can do anything to me with just a few pieces of trash? All of you die. Suddenly, Minji, who was in the void, began to roar angrily. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Being harassed by Yang Wei, Crippled Blade, Fatso Lu, and the green and red ghosts, he lost control of the 9 Serenity's cold flame and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although Ming Yi had a special flame and was stronger than Yang Wei and the others in terms of combat strength, they were all at the same level. However, their cultivation levels were the same. They were all peak Empyrean exalts. Being caught off guard and attacked continuously, it was difficult to be perfectly safe. Why are you talking so much to that guy? If it were not for the fact that you fought with Lung Feng, I would have killed you with a slap. Fatso Lu shook the plate and sneered disdainfully. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw out a reincarnation fire. When the 2 ghosts saw this, they looked at each other and dodged. This allowed the reincarnation karma fire to attack Ming Yi. Damn it! Damn it! All of you deserve to die. When Ming Yi saw this, he was so angry that he went crazy. He couldn't help but pull out his hand and shoot out the 9 underworld's cold flame, which blasted toward Fatso Lu and the others. Chapter 603. Rumble. The 9 nether cold flame and the reincarnation fire collided in the air. The purple cold flame and the green rebirth fire canceled each other out and turned into light spots, flying in all directions. Crack! At the same time, one of the 2 remaining 7 sword radiances was also worn down. However, the last remaining sword radiance directly broke through the 9 Serenity's cold flame and pierced toward Ming Yi. Poof! The black sword radiance disappeared in the blink of an eye. In an instant, it cut off Ming Ye's left arm. Fresh blood and a broken arm floated up into the sky. Ah! Bastard! Bastard! Minji suddenly felt incomparable pain, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He gritted his teeth making cracking sounds. His eyes were full of strong, killing intent as he glared at Lung Feng. You deserve to die. Lung Feng's face turned pale. He had no strength left in his body, and he fell from the sky. The unique flame is indeed powerful. Even with all my cultivation and the help of others, I only managed to cut off one of your arms. I have lost this battle. Lung Feng's mind was in a mess. He had used all of his 7 ultimate sword radiance and was in a weakened state. If Fatty Lu and the others had not interfered, not only would Lung Feng have been defeated, he would have been frozen and killed. Because of this, Lung Feng had a strong sense of defeat. He had a clearer understanding of a unique flame. However, it was too late to say anything now. Sometimes, life and death could be decided in an instant. Once one attacked, there was little hope for one to come out unharmed. Even if I lose an arm, I can still kill all of you. Die. Minji angrily rebuked again and again. He waved his right hand and chopped in the air. Immediately, a purple 9 Serenity's cold flame attacked and swept directly toward Lung Feng, who was falling from the sky. Rumble, rumble. At the same time, Fatty Lu, Yang Wei, Green and Red Ghosts, as well as Broken Blade, had no time to save him. They were completely blocked in the air by the 9 Serenity's cold flame. It was already very lucky that they could protect themselves from being hurt by the strange flame. Wang Kai, if you don't make a move now, when will you? Seeing this, Fatty Lu became anxious. Although he also had a special flame, he still had to stay to resist the 9 Serenity's cold flame. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Yang Wei and the others to be safe. Big brother, big senior brother, it's time for you to act tough. Kanran fiercely slapped his bald head as he roared with a ferocious expression. Sect leader, kill him. Green Ghost and Red Ghost also shouted loudly. They continuously released Death Chi to resist the 9 Underworld Cold Flame together with Fatso Lu and the others. In an instant, the sky was filled with purple flames, surrounding Fatso Lu and the others. They were unable to escape at all. What are you shouting for? With me here, even if the Emperor comes, he can't hurt Lung Feng at all. What can Ming Yi, the controller of the 9 Serenity's cold flame, do? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Wang. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, under the disbelieving gazes of the crowd, the space beneath the descending Lung Feng suddenly tore apart. As a result, the Lung Feng suddenly disappeared. When Lung Feng reappeared, he was beside Wang Kai, lying on the ground, unconscious. Tearing open the void, the means of a supreme master. You can still use the cultivation of a supreme master. This is impossible. Ming Yi was shocked and immediately shouted. He could not believe that Wang Kai could still tear open the void after entering the reincarnation realm. If they were outside the reincarnation realm, Ming Yi would never dare to be enemies with Wang Kai. In such a situation, he would not choose to take the initiative to provoke Wang Kai. After all, Wang Kai's name was well known in the 8 Wastelands. The combat strength of a Supreme Master was even greater than that of Heartless Supreme. However, in the reincarnation realm, he should be able to display the cultivation of a peak Heavenly Master. But at this moment, he was tearing open the void. Everything was beyond common sense, and beyond Ming Ye's calculation. What does a Supreme Master's means? This sect master is very awesome, okay? Not to mention a Supreme Master. Even the 8 Wasteland Supremes, or even the stronger Heavenly Soldiers and Heavenly Generals, or the Heavenly Origin Realm, are not much different from ants in front of me. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled calmly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. 8 Wasteland Supremes, Heavenly Soldiers, Heavenly Generals, Heavenly Origin Realm? What was he talking about? Ming Yi was stunned when he heard such words. He even forgot about the pain in his broken arm. Other than doubts, there was only panic left. It was really a headache to meet an opponent like Wang Kai, who was beyond common sense. Sigh, it is just the 9 Serenity's cold flame. Whoosh! Suddenly, Wang Kai stepped forward and appeared in front of Fatso Lu and the others. He opened his mouth and blew out a breath. The 9 serenities' cold flame dissipated into nothingness. Ming Ye's eyes bulged when he saw such a scene. His face was pale, and he turned around and fled with fear in his eyes. He could blow away the 9 serenities' cold flame in one breath. How could he fight? Sect leader, you are too pretentious. He ran away. Green Ghost and Red Ghost looked at each other and smacked their lips speechlessly. Crack! Wang Kai was not anxious when he heard this. Instead, he turned his hand casually and tore a hole in the void in front of him. You, patter. Then, under the surprised gaze of Fatso Lu and the others, Ming Yi, who had already escaped, suddenly came out of the hole in the void. Wang Kai grabbed his neck. The means of a supreme master to tear the void was indeed mysterious and strange. Even if he was thousands of miles away, he could still tear the void and capture him. Slap! Wang Kai pinched Ming Ye's neck with one hand and slapped it with the other. The crisp sound directly caused Ming Ye's face to explode. Take a slap before condemning. Now, tell me, are you wrong? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled with a playful expression. Crack! Crack! Ming Yi was so angry that his whole body trembled. He gritted his teeth so hard that they broke. He had never been so humiliated since he started cultivating. Even if he was afraid of Wang Kai, he was more angry at this moment. Sect leader asked you if you were wrong. Are you deaf? Damn it! Slap! Slap! Green Ghost and Red Ghost at the side saw this and immediately waved their hands. 2 slaps accurately landed on Ming Ye's face, making him unrecognizable. You still don't want to say it? I gave you some face. You even dared to burn your Uncle Lu just now. Bang! Crack! Fatso Lu was not to be outdone. He raised his hand and was about to slap Ming Yi, but he saw that there was no place on Ming Ye's face that was intact. In the end, he directly chose to kick him out. Ming Ye's leg was immediately smashed into pieces and drooped down. Your figure doesn't look complete. It's better to look like this. Canrin licked his lips and reached out to grab Ming Ye's arm with a ferocious sneer on his face. With a fierce tug, he immediately tore off the remaining arm. Woo-woo, The repeated excruciating pain caused Ming Yi to scream incessantly. That incomparably miserable appearance was truly terrifying to the extreme. Then this leg doesn't look complete either. Remove it too. Yang Wei shook his arms, raised his foot, and kicked out fiercely. He directly kicked Minji's last leg and sent it flying down from the sky. Looking at Ming Yi again, at this moment, he had already become a human stick. It was so miserable. How can you treat him like this? Our Discord sect is a righteous sect, okay? This sect leader is the embodiment of justice and the messenger of kindness, okay? Wang Kai shook his head speechlessly when he saw this. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. QQ Genuine Reading Group Number 4605246699. Welcome to the Apprentice Fan Points to join the group for discussion. Chapter 604. I think that Sect Master's words are extremely reasonable. We really shouldn't treat him like this. Sigh. It's a pity that we lost a controller of a mysterious flame. Green Ghost shook his head and sighed. Red Ghost also secretly nodded his head with a face full of regret. Since that's the case, Sect Master, please give him the final blow. Yang Wei frowned and said in a deep voice. Wang Kai gently nodded his head when he heard this. He flipped his hand and suddenly slammed it downwards. One could only hear a pa-cha sound as Ming Ye's head was slammed into nothingness. Not even a drop of blood could be seen. Swoosh! As Wang Kai released his hand, Ming Ye's corpse fell from the sky. Such a scene caused the corners of Fatty Lu and Canron's mouths to twitch fiercely. They looked at each other and felt extremely speechless. He could only think to himself, worthy of being Wang Kai's subordinate. His shameless character is exactly the same as Wang Kai. give him the final blow, and he couldn't be so cruel. Why didn't he think of this when he turned Mingyi into a stick? It had already become a foregone conclusion, so he had to be merciful. Even Fatty Lou felt that he couldn't keep up with the trend at this moment. Is this how the people of the 8 Desolations deal with their enemies? Fatty Lou muttered in his heart. Wang Kai, it seems that we can't take the Vermilion Bird Dao tablet. Suddenly, Heartless Sovereign coldly said. Such words caused Wang Kai's eyebrows to twitch. His eyes were filled with playfulness as he glanced at Feng Mingshan. Then he smiled faintly and said, This sect master never said that I would take the Vermilion Bird Dao tablet. That Dao tablet was originally given out by this sect master. How can someone like this sect master, who keeps his word, take it back? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. It was given out. These words immediately caused Heartless Sovereign to frown. His eyes were filled with coldness as he stared at Wang Kai. He said in a cold voice, You already knew that the owner of the Vermilion Bird Dao tablet was in this mountain? Since you know her and gave her the Dao tablet, you won't take it back. Then why did you choose to come here? Patter. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. Then he flipped his hand and took out a folding fan. Then he opened it and shook it gently with a smile. You're really stupid. Didn't this sect master come here to gather the disciples of the Discord sect? I'll take a look at her. Whoosh. As his voice fell, Wang Kai held his folding fan and pointed at Fengming Mountain from afar. At the place where he pointed, there were shockingly many dark red lights flickering. Waves of heat, as well as a dense and intense pressure, spread out from the point of the finger. Crack! Crack! In an instant, the hundreds of thousands of miles of frozen land was completely unfrozen by the scorching heat. Divine Vermilion Bird Flame. Martial Highness' heartless eyes grew colder. His murderous intent toward Wang Kai rose once again. His original intention was to bring him to collect all the Dao tablets so that he could open the reincarnation blood pool. However, they had all come here to find the disciples of the heavenly Discord sect. It had nothing to do with the Vermilion Bird Dao tablet. Could this be an acquaintance? Fatty Lou's big belly shook as he sensed the familiar aura. However, he couldn't remember who it was. For a moment, he was puzzled. Wang Kai, I've said it before. The day we meet again will be the day of life and death. Whoosh! Suddenly, a voice filled with killing intent came out from Fengming Mountain. Accompanying it was the ferocious and endless dark red flames. In an instant, the entire Fengming Mountain turned into a sea of fire. Moreover, the fire continued to spread. The mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees that had already lost their vitality. Now that they were unfrozen, they were completely burned by the Vermilion Bird Divine Flame. As far as the eye could see, it was pitch black. When a breeze blew, it was scorching hot and turned into ashes. Lu Yao, when this sect master gave you the Vermilion Bird Dao tablet and let you obtain the Vermilion Bird's inheritance, it was not for you to seek revenge from this sect master. Wang Kai gently waved his folding fan and said with a mocking smile, Lu Yao, whoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, it immediately caused Fatty Lou's expression to be stunned. Beside him, Kanrin was also stunned. No wonder the aura was so familiar. It turned out that it was the daughter of the Grand Tutor's residence in the Fan Province, Lu Yao. She was also Wang Kai's fiancée in name. Don't talk nonsense. Today we must separate. Buzz. Whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, before Lu Yao could finish speaking, the fire on Fengming Mountain was instantly extinguished by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. Even the surrounding fire was completely extinguished. As a result, Lu Yao's figure also appeared in the eyes of the few people. She was wearing a fiery red dress, and her hair had also turned fiery red. Even her eyebrows were red. Together with her thin red lips, she looked extremely demonic. Especially the Vermilion Bird Divine Flame pattern between her eyebrows. It was even more intoxicating. It was simply so beautiful that it was simply demonic. It was so beautiful that it did not seem to belong to the human world. However, in the eyes of Wang Kai, such appearance caused him to frown. Little girl, you didn't learn good things after coming to the 8 Desolates. You even learned to dye your hair? If you want to dye your hair, dye it. What kind of style is it to dye your eyebrows red? Don't you know that it looks ugly? Wang Kai frowned and said with disdain, "Whoosh." As soon as these words were spoken, Fatty Lou and the others were instantly dumbfounded. Even the heartless Paragon was startled. When he glanced at Wang Kai again, it was as if he was looking at an idiot. Could it be that he, an expert that surpassed the 8 Desolates Prime, didn't even know the appearance of the Vermilion Bird successor? The true successors of the Vermilion Bird were all like this. Wang Kai, she might already be the successor of the Vermilion Bird Palace Master. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the qualifications and ability to change her appearance. Fatty Lou reminded in a low voice. As the Arhat of the Golden Cicada Temple, Fatty Lou naturally had some understanding of the Vermilion Bird Palace, which was also a prime faction. Even Ken Rin licked his lips and said with a sinister smile, "In the Vermilion Bird Palace, this is a symbol of strength and status." Strength, a symbol of status. Wang Kai was instantly speechless. He curled his lips in disdain and said indifferently, "According to what you said, the symbol of the White Tiger Palace is a bald head." That's right. I don't have your fiancé's ability to become the successor of the White Tiger Palace Master. However, I really want to destroy that successor. Kanrin licked his lips and gently patted his bald head as he chuckled softly. "Wang Kai, what do you want?" Whoosh! Lu Yao, who was wearing a red dress, stepped into the air with her red hair fluttering. She directly walked to the opposite side of Wang Kai and the others as a fiery red light flickered in her eyes. "What do you want? Just a moment ago, you were shouting to kill me. Now that you can't beat me, not only did you not run away, you even rushed over and asked me what I want?" In her eyes, has this sect master always had such a good temper like this? Thinking of this, Wang Kai immediately said in annoyance, "I want to consummate my marriage with you and have 180 children. However, I don't have the mood to do that now. It's just that you're like this. However, it's fine. I can still accept touching the black hole room. Who asked me to understand the hierarchy and obey my parents' orders and matchmaker's words? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 3rd grade Heavenly General Realm. QQ Genuine Reading Discussion Group 4605-24699. Don't add pirates, you'll be kicked out. Chapter 605. You shameless bastard. Lu Yao was so angry that her body trembled. She clenched her fists so hard that they turned white. She clenched her teeth and looked as if she wanted to tear Wang Kai apart. Every time she met Wang Kai, she could not do anything to him. She could not win an argument. It was impossible for her to fight him. Even in the reincarnation realm, she could not suppress his true cultivation. For a moment, Lu Yao felt incomparably defeated. She really wanted to know what was in this world that Wang Kai couldn't deal with. Shameless bastard? Then you must be blind. Otherwise, why can't you see this sect master's white teeth that can blind the eyes and make countless beautiful girls crazy? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather playful smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Lu Yao held her breath. However, she could not think of a reply. No matter what she said, she would only be angered to the point where she could not take it anymore. Thinking of this, Lu Yao could only purse her lips and sneer. She turned to leave. However, just as he moved his body, he was forcefully restrained in the air by Wang Kai's pressure. No matter how hard he used his cultivation, he was unable to move at all. "Wait here. Wait for me to use the Great Reversal spell and gather all the key holders in the reincarnation realm. At that time, you just need to take out the Vermilion Bird key." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a calm smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Great reversal spell? What kind of secret technique is that? Everyone was puzzled when they heard this. However, when they saw Wang Kai tear open a hole in the void with his bare hands, they came to a sudden realization. Isn't this the technique of a prime being? How could there be a way to reverse the situation? Saying that was just for the sake of bragging. Buzz, where is this? Just now, there's a strange force that dragged me here. What exactly happened? Who are you? Fatty? Monk with a broken blade? Many young men and women appeared from the numerous openings in the void. All of them looked at Wang Kai and the others in astonishment. There weren't many people, only 8 of them. Among them, there were a few familiar faces, such as Li Lingxian of the exquisite refinement sect, Yun Feiqing of the emergence Dao Gate, Kong Ro of the Black Tortoise Mountain, Kuan Peng Princess of the Medicine God Mountain. The other 4 were the White Tiger Palace's young palace lord, Hu Chou Tian, the Heavenly Court successor, Nangon Bai Lai, the soul-shattering valley successor, Hu Shan, and the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple's Arhat, Zhi Heng. Little bald donkey Zhi Heng, hurry up and hand over the key that belongs to the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple. Then, I'll consider you the winner of this battle for the temple's successor. I don't want a mere Buddhist seat anymore, Fatso Lu shouted with his hands on his waist. He looked like a bandit. Where was the image of an Arhat of the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple? Although the Arhat named Zhi Heng had cultivated for close to 1,000 years, he looked like he was in his 20s. Upon hearing Fatso Lu's words, he immediately put his palms together and said, "Junior brother Zhi Heng, don't be like this. This is a peaceful place of Buddhism. How can there be a fight? If senior brother wants this key, just take it. I'm more suitable to be the successor of the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple." Umitba. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhi Heng flipped his hand and gently waved it. Along with a ray of Buddhist light, a golden key floated into Fatso Lu's hand. If you're given the seat, then so be it. I don't care for it, Fatso Lu said with disdain as he shook his big face. After being a monk for a few years, Fatso Lu was no longer able to continue with the Buddhist precepts. Now, he was naturally happy to leave the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple. This scene made the corners of Wang Kai and the others' mouths twitch slightly. However, after all was said and done, Zhi Heng was indeed more suitable to be the abbot than Fatso Lu. It was no wonder that Zhi Heng, a disciple of the Buddhist temple, would tell Fatso Lu that the abbot position would be his. If Fatso Lu really became the abbot, the Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple would definitely be turned upside down. It might even become a brothel. At the same time, Canrin and the young palace master of the White Tiger Palace, Hu Chou Tian, were also staring at each other and arguing. If he wasn't a disciple of the Buddhist temple, how could he obtain the key so easily like Fatso Lu? On the other side, Yun Feiqing's beautiful eyes flickered with a strange light as she glanced at Wang Kai. Then, she lowered her head and walked toward Prime Heartless. On the other hand, Li Lingxian, Kong Ro, and Kuan Shui directly went to Wang Kai's side. Kong Ro even jumped up and threw herself into Wang Kai's arms. "Big baddie, long time no see. You've become even more handsome." Kong Ro narrowed her beautiful eyes as her red lips parted slightly. After so many years, Kong Ro was no longer the petite girl she used to be. She had grown into a great beauty with a peerless figure and an incomparable beauty, especially the big white bunny in front of her chest, which made Wang Kai's chest feel extremely comfortable. Yes, of course. My handsomeness can't be described with words. My handsomeness can only be seen from afar and not touched up. However, since you admire me so much, I'll make an exception and let you squeeze cough cough. I'll let you touch as much as you want. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a calm smile. As he spoke, his hands couldn't help but caress Kong Ro's back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Big baddie, your hand. Don't go down, ah? Kong Ro's pretty face immediately turned red. Feeling the hot hand on her buttocks, she immediately exclaimed and jumped out of Wang Kai's arms. Pervert. Li Lingxian's eyes were filled with anger as she snorted coldly. She turned her head and stopped in her tracks. She originally wanted to get closer to Wang Kai, but she instantly gave up. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was really speechless. He couldn't help but look at the Kunping Emperor daughter, Kun Shui. He shook his head and said with a sigh, "After not seeing you for so many years, you've changed quite a lot. Yours is bigger too." Kun Shui hurriedly covered her chest with her hands. Her pretty face blushed as she lowered her head and pursed her lips tightly. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. She vaguely remembered that in an immortal martial domain, Wang Kai cared a lot about that part of her. However, back then in the Weapon God Mountain, because the Qing Wan and Hui Feng activated the teleportation formation, they mysteriously came to the Eight Desolations and even became the successor of the Medicine God Mountain. It was also at that time that Kun Shui found out that the owner of the teleportation formation in the Weapon God Mountain was the Mountain Master of the Medicine God Mountain, the Medicine God. Here's the key. Master once said that if I can use the inheritance of the Medicine God to obtain this key, it will prove that he has already fallen. Kun Shui pursed her lips and took out a key with reddened eyes. Wang Kai nodded slightly when he heard this. Among the 10 Supremes, only the Heartless Sovereign, the Heaven Emperor, and the second soul of the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign were still alive. The first soul of the Heavenly Ghost Sovereign had already been destroyed, and his hope of resurrection had been shattered. Moreover, it was very likely that he had already been killed by the Heaven Emperor. Chapter 606. Oh, I also have a key here. Master Neo is still in the Black Tortoise Graveyard. Bad guy, how did you bring me here? Why didn't you bring Master with you? Kong Ro stretched out her hand and handed over a key. She suddenly woke up from her stupor. Wang Kai's mouth twitched. It wasn't that he didn't want to bring Niao Zhetian with him, but that he didn't want to. Although Niao Zhetian couldn't use the things left behind by the previous Black Tortoise Primes, he could use them to strengthen the Black Tortoise Mountain in the future. In the end, Niao Zhetian was too greedy. The Azure Dragon Key, the Golden Cicada Temple's key, the Black Tortoise Mountain's key, the Vermilion Bird Palace's key, and the Divine Alchemy Mountain's key. Half of them are already there, and the other half is left. Wang Kai played with the 4 keys in his hand before turning to look at Liu Yao. Liu Yao snorted coldly. She didn't want Wang Kai to do something like what he did to Kong Ro. She could only grit her teeth and throw the Vermilion Bird key to Wang Kai. The Vermilion Bird Dao token had been given to her by Wang Kai. Now, she was just returning it to its rightful owner. Patter. Wang Kai flipped his hand and took the Vermilion Bird key. Then he shrugged his shoulders and laughed softly. Fei Qing, give me the key to the Ascension Dao Gate. Before Wang Kai could finish his words, Yin Fei Qing directly placed a key into Heartless Prime's hand. Furthermore, she did not even bother to pay attention to him. Other than the initial glance, he didn't even look her in the eye. Take it. Haha. Honorable Heartless sneered as he threw the key back to Wang Kai, as if he was very pleased with himself. Seeing this scene, the corners of Wang Kai's mouth fiercely twitched. However, he did not mind. After fiercely glaring at Yin Fei Qing, he looked at Li Lingxian and said with a faint smile, Lingxian, hand over the key. What key? What are you talking about? Lingxian doesn't understand. Li Lingxian twisted her hips and smiled coquettishly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with ridicule as she looked at Wang Kai. Seeing this, Wang Kai frowned. He narrowed his eyes and stared at her. He secretly transmitted his voice with a smile. Little girl, you'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, in front of so many people, this sect master will do something bad. Oh, what's wrong? Spirit Immortal is so scared. However, even though Wang Kai sent a telepathic threat, he couldn't do anything to Li Lingxian. Instead, he was infuriated by her nonchalant attitude. Yaya. Nice guy. She's not afraid of you at all. She's just pretending. Whoosh. Hearing the white little critter's words, Wang Kai's forehead was immediately filled with black lines. He secretly thought, Your father, also know that she is not afraid, but you just had to expose me. How am I going to put my face now? Luckily, no one else could understand the white little critter's words. Otherwise, wouldn't it be really embarrassing? Since Li Lingxian doesn't want to hand it over, so be it. It's fine as long as it's in her hands. Thinking of this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He turned to look at the successor of the heavenly court, Nangong Bai Lai, and said calmly, "Successor of the heavenly court, Nangong Jiao has already been beaten to a pulp by this sect master. You don't have to struggle anymore. Hand over the key." Whoosh! Nangong Bai Lai, who was already pale with fright, didn't hesitate at all when he heard this. He immediately handed over the key with both hands. His humble and respectful appearance really made people sigh. Originally, because Nangong Jiao was beaten up by Wang Kai and couldn't even enter the reincarnation realm, Nangong Bai Lai suddenly became the leader of the heavenly court. However, right after he received the key, it was taken away by Wang Kai before he could even use it. Luckily, Nangong Bai Lai still had the inheritance of the heavenly court's heavenly emperors. He wouldn't be left without any benefits. Now I still lack 2 keys. This trash from the White Tiger Palace didn't get the key. Successor of the Death Valley, hand over the key. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, "White Tiger Palace, this trash, whoosh." These words immediately caused Cho Tian's eyes to turn terrifyingly cold. Immediately, he opened his mouth and released a white tiger roar. His body instantly transformed into a white tiger. His ferocious tiger eyes, which were filled with murderous intent, stared coldly at Wang Kai as he said in an indifferent voice, "You are Wang Kai, right? Outside the reincarnation realm, I might not be your opponent. However, inside the reincarnation realm, bang, wa-ao-ao." Suddenly, before Hu Chotian could finish his words, he was slapped by Wang Kai and fell from the sky. "What are you acting tough for?" Previously, Mingyi from the Death Valley also said the same thing. In the end, didn't he become a human stick? "Qinren, you said that you wanted to kill him. I have brought him here. You can do as you see fit." Wang Kai shrugged and waved his hand impatiently. He then turned his gaze to the successor of the Death Valley. Qinren licked his lips and rubbed his bald head. He sneered malevolently. "He will definitely feel good." Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Qinren attacked Hu Chotian from above. As for the successor of the Soul Break Valley, Hu Shan's gaze sank slightly at this moment. He looked at Wang Kai with surprise and uncertainty. For a moment, he was somewhat uncertain. Logically speaking, Wang Kai should be a person that Sovereign Heavenly Ghost had placed in the Heavenly Exterminating Army. But now he had killed Mingyi? Did he betray Sovereign Heavenly Ghost? He and Minji were both successors of the Soul Break Valley. Although the fall of Minji was very beneficial to him, now that he had encountered the unpredictable Wang Kai, whether he could survive or not was another matter. Thinking of this, Hu Shan took out a black key and threw it to Wang Kai without hesitation. He secretly transmitted his voice and asked, "Sect Master Wang, did white impermanence come in contact with you?" "Patter." Wang Kai took the key with a flip of his hand. When he heard the voice transmission, he glanced at him indifferently. Then, he raised his hand and slapped him. "Scram, scum!" Bang! Wah! In an instant, Hu Shan was sent flying while vomiting blood. His body spun like a meteor. In the blink of an eye, he was already miles away. Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, Golden Cicada Buddhist Temple, Ascension Dao Gate, Divine Medicine Mountain, Death Valley, Heavenly Court, and Li Lingxian's exquisite refinement sex key. There were a total of 9 keys. Now, only the White Tiger Palace's key was left. Lu Yao, who had the token, could open the Vermilion Bird's inheritance. Niuzha Tian, who was Sovereign Black Tortoise, could take out the key even if he did not have a token. As for the White Tiger Palace, the Sovereign Black Tortoise had not arrived and he did not have the token. Naturally, he could not take out the key. Now, the Qilin token was the only thing that he did not know how to use. Patter. Wang Kai flipped his hand and put the 8 keys into the Tower of Babel. Then, he took out the White Tiger Dao tablet. He looked down and shouted, Can run, move faster. Take the Tao tablet and go get the keys. Below, Can Run, who was currently riding on the white tiger's body and violently beating it up, responded upon hearing this. He pulled out his broken black blade and directly chopped off the white tiger's head. When I entered the white tiger palace, you wanted me to be your servant. Now, are you still tough? Kinrin spat, licked his lips, and stepped into the air. Chapter 607. When Wang Kai heard this, his face immediately darkened, and black lines appeared on his forehead. Looking at the beautiful Li Ling Xian and Kong Ro, who were currently very unyielding, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. What do you want? The bloodstone is trash. It's no different from the stones on the ground. If you want to eat it, then this sect leader will kill a few people right now, bleed, and dye the stone into a bloodstone. Do you want to eat it? Wang Kai raised his hand and patted the little white beast as he spoke in a rather fierce tone. Yeah. If you don't want to eat, then don't eat. Why are you being so fierce to me? TSK. The little white beast muttered a few times and narrowed its eyes. It naturally didn't like stones. You can coax the demon pet, but you can't coax us sisters. Kong Ro pouted and snorted with an unfriendly look in her eyes. Li Ling Xian nodded slightly. Her beautiful face was filled with a non-negotiable expression. She immediately said indifferently, "That's right, the bloodstone. We sisters want it." Sisters? Just a moment ago, they were still enemies, but now they were sisters? Seeing this, Wang Kai's face turned green. Naturally, he could tell that the reason why Li Ling Xian and Kong Ro had joined forces was because he had given in too much to the heartless sovereign. Let them think that he was better to Yin Fei Qing? Thinking about it, Wang Kai's mood suddenly became very comfortable. He couldn't help but take out a folding fan, opened it with a click, and gently waved it. He smiled quite complacently and said, "Alas, the world says that a person who is not romantic is a waste of youth, but this sect leader is too romantic, right? Why bother to make countless beauties bow down?" Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 4th level of the Heavenly General Realm. Bloodstone, I don't want it anymore. I don't want it either. You pervert, you're too good at bragging. As soon as he finished speaking, before Wang Kai could be complacent for a long time, he heard Li Ling Xian and Kong Ro reject the request for the bloodstone. Such a situation immediately caused Wang Kai to have black lines appear on his forehead. He had just bragged, but before he could even warm up, he had been splashed with a basin of cold water. This sect master understands. For an outstanding young man like this sect master, you should indeed be like this. Not bad. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and pretended to be indifferent. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Understood? What did he understand? What exactly do you understand? Li Ling Xian and Kong Ro were stunned when they heard this. They looked at Wang Kai, puzzled. They didn't understand. What did he understand? Since you've already agreed, you should keep your word, Prime Heartless said indifferently. Patter. Wang Kai gently waved his folding fan and drew a line in the air with one hand. He condensed a domineering and mighty golden dragon throne with his battle chi and sat on it. He crossed his legs and said with a faint smile, "Of course. This sect master has always been known as a man of his words. Words that I have said are like milk that I have spat out. I will never take them back." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. A man of his word. Spit out milk, shameless. Pervert. Bastard. In an instant, 3 voices were heard. Li Ling Xian, Kong Ro, and Prime Heartless all stared coldly at Wang Kai. They had never expected Wang Kai to be so shameless. Shameless is this cult master's motto. Being vulgar is the trend this cult master has always led. As for being a scoundrel, you scoundrel your grandpa. This cult master is bickering with his confidant. What are you shouting for? Oh, you must be interested in me, right? I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in you. Maybe Xiao Kai won't even be able to raise his head. Wang Kai's gaze suddenly turned, and he glanced at the heartless sovereign with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Hu Xiao Kai, do you have a son? Li Lingxian and Kong Ro were both shocked. They couldn't help but run to Wang Kai's sides and pinch his arms with great force. Ugh! The crowd was left speechless by the situation. Fatso Lu held his forehead and could not help but murmur Ba. Yang Wei and Kong Ro looked at each other and twitched the corners of their mouths. The green ghost and red ghost were also speechless. They had never expected their sect master to be so fierce. No wonder their sect master was surrounded by beauties. His strength was one thing, but his words were another. After the matter in the reincarnation realm is over, stay with me. Suddenly, a trembling voice echoed in Wang Kai's mind. Wang Kai froze when he heard such words. He immediately looked at Yun Feiqing as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He had never expected her to say such words. She took the initiative to invite him. It seems that I did a good job of bragging just now. Wang Kai could not help but feel proud in his heart. He thought to himself, I'll have to act like this more often in the future. Yes, I wash myself clean. Just wait and see. Xiao Kai will definitely raise his head for you. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and pretended to be arrogant, replying with a voice transmission like he was a lord. Despicable bastard. Yin Feiqing's face turned red. Li Lingxian and Kong Ro had never experienced anything, so they naturally did not know what Xiao Kai meant. However, she knew very well. Who is Xiao Kai? Who did you have a child with? Tell me quickly, Kong Ro said in a coquettish voice. Although Li Lingxian didn't say anything else, the coldness in her eyes became even more intense. In the end, that coldness was fixed on Yun Feiqing. This scene gave Wang Kai a headache. He could not help but sigh in his heart. It's not a good thing to be too charming. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Just as Li Lingxian could not hold back and was about to fight with Yun Feiqing, Wang Kai could only rub his head in distress. He said to them through voice transmission, Xiao Kai is his little brother. Yes, the ruler of the bridal chamber, the preacher of happiness in life, and the faithful worker of reproduction. Whoosh! Hearing this sound transmission, Li Lingxian and Kong Ro's beautiful eyes were both stunned. Immediately after, they came back to their senses. Their pretty faces instantly became bright red, as if they were dripping blood. They both spat and hurriedly turned their heads away. Damn it! Why hasn't that bald donkey with a broken blade come back? If this goes on, I'll definitely be crippled here. Wang Kai frowned and cursed silently in his heart. Eldest senior brother, the white tiger inheritance and the key are gone. I used the token to open the inheritance tomb, but I found that there was nothing inside. Suddenly, Ken Ren's voice sounded from the crack in the sky. Soon after, his figure appeared. It's gone? Could it be that someone took it first? Wang Kai and the others were shocked when they heard this. Chapter 608. Now he had 9 keys. He only needed one more to open the reincarnation blood pool. However, there was a mistake with the last key. Wang Kai frowned and snorted coldly with an unfriendly expression. This sect master wants to see who has the guts to steal this sect master's things. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 5th grade Heavenly General Realm. Haha, it's me. However, I have to correct you. That is not yours. It belongs to me. The token that you have was also left behind by me. Swoosh. As a soft laugh sounded, Wang Kai and the rest turned their heads to look. They saw a young man in a white robe standing in the distant void. He looked to be in his 20s and had an extraordinary handsome face. In his hand, he was holding a white tiger-shaped key. The first white tiger sovereign? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and looked at him in surprise. He did not expect him to dare to come out. When he had just stepped into the reincarnation realm, he had used his spiritual soul to spy. Many of the past sovereigns had recultivated their second avatars in the reincarnation realm. However, they had all hidden themselves and did not participate in any battles. They also did not come into contact with anyone. Even the past sovereigns had not come into contact with them once. Now, the White Tiger sovereign had suddenly appeared. He had even taken back his inheritance and the key that he had left behind. He had even brazenly appeared in front of Lin Fan. I have to say that you are very bold. Hand over the key. Hand over the inheritance and give it to my brother. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said calmly. Swoosh. Rumble. Rumble. Crack. Crack. Suddenly, the White Tiger sovereign stepped forward and appeared in front of Wang Kai. His speed was so fast that it was terrifying. When he activated his cultivation, the void of the reincarnation realm started to tremble. However, after he stopped moving, he regained his composure. Supreme Realm. When Fatty Lou and the others saw this, their expressions changed, and they all secretly became vigilant. Looks like you've seized one of the vacant Supremes after the Heavenly Ghost Supremacy killed 7 Supremes. In that case, the other Supremes of the White Tiger Supremes have all been killed by you, right? Supremacy Heartless said in an ice-cold tone. In the 8 Desolates, there were actually no boundaries. However, the 8 Desolates could only contain 10 Nine Heaven Supremes. Once he stepped into the Heavenly Soldier realm, he would ascend to Tianzhou. The Heavenly Ghost Sovereign had slain 7 sovereigns, allowing the first White Tiger Sovereign to rise above the other White Tiger Sovereigns. It was reasonable for him to reclaim the position of Sovereign. The White Tiger Sovereign gently nodded upon hearing this. He glanced at the Heartless Sovereign in an indifferent manner before looking at Wang Kai and speaking in a rather calm manner. How about we make a deal? A deal? Hee. You can't possibly be thinking that you're on equal footing with me, just because you're a mere Supreme, right? You're a big white cat? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders with a disdainful smile on his face. He lay on the Golden Dragon throne and looked at the White Tiger Sovereign as if he was looking at trash. Such a contemptuous expression and words immediately caused the White Tiger Sovereign's eyes to be filled with anger. However, in the end, he didn't get angry. Your cultivation has reached the Heavenly Soldier realm. In the Azure Dragon Graveyard, this Exalted and the other first-generation Utmost Exalted who successfully seized back their exalted positions all knew about this matter. Coincidentally, we also learned about what happened in the Heavenly Province. The White Tiger Exalted indifferently said. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes upon hearing this and said in amusement, So, you gave up the opportunity to fight for the 8 Desolates Supremacy's position and chose to step into Tianzhou to cultivate in the Supremacy realm? That's right. The Bloodstone and the Reincarnation Blood Pool can help me break through to the Heavenly Soldier realm, but I don't want it. The White Tiger Sovereign said indifferently. The Bloodstone could help a Supremacy break through to the Heavenly Soldier realm. To reach the qualifications to ascend to Tianzhou, no wonder everyone wanted to fight for the Bloodstone. Wang Kai looked at the Heartless Sovereign playfully. Seeing that she still didn't seem to care, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. It seemed like she thought that she had him. If you don't want a Bloodstone, what do you want? Do you want a slap from this Sectmaster? Wang Kai sneered disdainfully. I need you to bring me into Tianzhou. The White Tiger Sovereign said. Hiss. Hearing this, Wang Kai took a deep breath and looked at him with admiration. He nodded and smiled. Not bad, not bad. You seem to have a lot of confidence in me. That's right. For someone as talented as me, I only need to move my mouth if I want to go to Tianzhou. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. You are the successor of Tong Tian Tower. You can enter Tianzhou with a special secret method like the 8 Desolates Supremacy. If you agree, I will give you this key. The White Tiger Sovereign said. Buzz. Pata. Suddenly, Wang Kai raised his hand and grabbed the key from the White Tiger Supremacy's hand. He placed the key in his palm and played with it as he said with a faint smile, "What if this sect master doesn't agree?" "Don't agree." Hearing this, everyone looked at the white tiger sovereign with ridicule. The key had been taken away, and there were no more conditions for negotiation. How was he going to deal with this? If he angered Wang Kai now, he would probably be slapped to death at any time, right? With Wang Kai's personality, he would definitely do that. It's fine if you don't agree. It's just that sect master Wang needs to think about it. If you were to step into the Tianzhou region in the future, you would have no friends or capable subordinates to help you. It would be a very vexing matter. The white tiger sovereign said with a face full of smiles. Was he going to surrender? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. They didn't expect the first-generation white tiger sovereign to be so humble. However, it made sense. Anyone who met Wang Kai wouldn't have a good ending if they didn't lower themselves. The white tiger sovereign was doing the right thing. You're just a mere supreme being. Go play wherever you want. This sect master doesn't have the time to boast with you. Wang Kai waved his hand and said with a look of disdain, "Sect leader Wang, I am the first-generation white tiger sovereign of the 8 Desolates. If I reach Tianzhou, my cultivation speed won't be slow. When the time comes, I will definitely be your greatest help. Moreover, I'm not the only one who has such thoughts." The white tiger sovereign's eyes darkened, and he quickly added, "He wasn't the only one." As soon as he finished speaking, another 8 figures appeared in the void. They were both men and women. They all looked to be in their 20s. The vermilion bird sovereign, the black tortoise sovereign, the golden cicada Buddha, the ascension holy man, the first medicine god, the Linglong reverend, and the heavenly emperor. I am the second heavenly emperor, Nangong Batian. I'm a first golden cicada Buddha. My name is Golden Cicada. I'm the second black tortoise sovereign, Zuanyangzi. I am the vermilion bird sovereign, Ruhua. The ascension holy man, Su Shun. The medicine god, Su Yen. The Linglong holy man, Yu Linglong. Chapter 609. Following the appearance of so many past supremes, their imposing aura was truly shocking. However, it caused Wang Kai to be rather displeased. Even if a bunch of supremes went to Tianzhou, what could they do? Did he have to bring a bunch of burdens with him? The so-called talent and qualifications could be found everywhere in Tianzhou. If he wanted subordinates, wouldn't he have them? It was really strange. Where did these past supremes get their confidence from? The 8 of you have all reached the Supreme's realm, but only 7 of the current generation Supremes have died. How did that Supremes achieve it? Wang Kai frowned and asked with narrowed eyes. He also had a bad premonition in his heart. The Heavenly Emperor killed Supreme's heavenly ghost outside the reincarnation realm. Who won? However, no matter who won, it wasn't a good thing for Wang Kai. After all, he had to deal with that pretentious Supreme's heavenly ghost personally. As for the fake Heavenly Emperor, she still had some use. After all, she was someone from Tianzhou, and her background wasn't small. Supreme's Heartless is right in front of us. The remaining 2 are Supreme's Heavenly Ghost and Heavenly Emperor. I think one of them has already fallen. Supreme's White Tiger said indifferently. Slap. Wah. Just as Supreme's White Tiger finished speaking, he was sent flying by Wang Kai's slap. He spat out blood and somersaulted hundreds of times in the void before coming to a stop. I don't want anything to happen, but you just had to say something. Who gave you the courage? Wang Kai frowned and snorted with an unfriendly expression. Whoosh! Such a scene caused the other Supremes to feel a chill in their hearts. They didn't expect Wang Kai to not care about them. However, the most depressed one was the White Tiger Sovereign. After all, wasn't it you who had opened your mouth to ask just now? Wasn't I answering you? Why did I get slapped? However, he could only suppress his anger and grievance in his heart. Cough, cough, sect leader Wang. As a disciple of the Discord sect, receiving this slap is also, bang, puff. Before the White Tiger Sovereign could finish his words, he was once again slapped by Wang Kai through the air, causing him to spin and fly into the air. This time, half of his face was gone. As they looked at the White Tiger Sovereign, whose face was recovering, the other utmost exalted gulped down a mouthful of saliva, as they were greatly frightened. Get lost. As long as you concentrate on your cultivation, it's not difficult for you to break through from the sovereign realm to the heavenly soldier realm and fly to Tianzhou. You don't need to think about taking advantage of others. I'm not in the mood to take you to Tianzhou, a bunch of trash. Wang Kai waved his hand disdainfully. Hearing this, the supreme beings were all furious. They were supreme beings, yet they were humiliated in such a way, yet they couldn't resist. They, who were used to looking down on others, found it unbearable. Supreme Heartless, you are the Emergence Dao Gates. The first generation Dao master of the Ascension Dao sect had just opened his mouth to speak, but before he could finish, he was interrupted. The Bloodstone can only belong to me. Even if you're the first Dao master, you are not qualified to compete with me. Heartless Prime said coldly. Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, the face of the first generation Dao master of the Emergence Dao Gate darkened. As a Dao master of the Dao Gate who had founded him, he was actually so disrespectful to him. Let's go, Ugh. Poof! Bang! Just as Su Shun, the Emergence Dao master, turned around and left in anger, he felt a chill on his neck. He slowly lowered his head and saw a sword light piercing through his throat from the back of his neck. I'm not Wang Kai. There's no reason to leave behind any future troubles. Heartless Prime said indifferently. With a flip of his hand, a pressure swept out, causing Su Shun's body to explode into a rain of blood. She was merciless. She killed without hesitation. She didn't even care about the founding Dao master of the Emergence Dao Gate. Such a scene made everyone tremble in fear. Even Wang Kai's heart trembled, secretly thinking that this woman was indeed ruthless and heartless. If he left her in the Eight Desolates, his family and brothers would not have a good ending. Kill. With Yin Fei Qing's relationship, it was impossible to kill her. The only solution was to let her go to Tianzhou smoothly. At that time, he would be able to teach her a lesson. Poof! Suddenly, a sound of snorting came from afar, accompanied by Niu Zhetian's disdainful voice. You've just recovered your cultivation level and haven't reached the peak yet. You want to order the younger generation? Even if you want to order them, you have to look at who the other party is. This idiot. He deserves to die. Whoosh! Niu Zhetian wagged his tail and shook his head. He stared at them with his bell-like eyes and a proud expression on his face. The corners of the remaining few supreme martial artists' mouths twitched fiercely as they listened to his words, especially the second-generation Black Tortoise Prime. When he saw Niu Zhetian, he was so frightened that he turned around and ran away without saying a word. At the same time, White Tiger Prime and the others did not dare to stay and ran away one after another. In the blink of an eye, they scattered like birds and beasts. Old Niu, did you kill the second-generation Black Tortoise Prime? I think it's better for you to enter the supremacy stage. Wang Kai frowned and said indifferently. Poof! Niu Zhetian snorted and said disdainfully, you don't have to do that. I'm used to living in Bahuang land. I don't want to go to Tianzhou to show off. Is he used to living in Bahuang land, or is he used to living a lazy life? Wang Kai was speechless. Since Niu Zhetian did not want to enter the Heavenly Soldier stage, it was fine to give the Bloodstone to Heartless Prime. After giving it to Heartless Prime, he would take it back and use the Tower of Babel to take her to Tianzhou. Thinking of this, Wang Kai became unconcerned. He could not help but shake his head and sigh softly. Alas, being too strong is really not a good thing. No matter how strong an enemy comes, they can't even block a slap. What's the point? Why is it so difficult to find a good opponent? Damn it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Everyone covered their faces when they heard that. They had a better understanding of Wang Kai's bragging skills. Even if he was invincible in Bahuang land, he shouldn't be bragging like that. It was too much. Master, he bullied me. He wants to give the Bloodstone to the Empress of Fan Zhou's master. They said it was a betrothal gift. Kong Ro pouted, her pretty face full of hidden bitterness as she cried out in a delicate voice. Poof! Neoja Tion was furious when he heard that. He turned his head and looked at Heartless Prime coldly. He said disdainfully, "Heartless Prime, my disciple Kong Ro is the main wife. Your disciple can only be a concubine." Everyone, "Master, I didn't mean that." "Ah, that's right." Kong Ro stamped her feet and lowered her head in shame. She didn't dare to say anything else. Chapter 610. "I don't care about who's more powerful and who's less powerful," said Heartless Sovereign coldly. His ice-cold and indifferent appearance made the crowd even more aware of how Heartless Prime Heartless was. Even though he had used his disciple Yun Fei Qing's kindness to get the Bloodstone, he didn't care about Yun Fei Qing at all. As long as he could get the Bloodstone, Heartless Sovereign was willing to give up everything. Even if he had to kill Yun Fei Qing, he wouldn't hesitate. Anything could be seen from small matter. Yun Fei Qing's eyes darkened, but she didn't blame Heartless Sovereign. She knew that Heartless Sovereign was so heartless because of the Heartless Tao. Slap! Neoja Tion snorted and said proudly, "At least you know what's good for you." Hearing this, everyone was speechless again. They hadn't thought that Neoja Tion's shamelessness was on par with Wang Kai. He didn't choose to retreat because he was afraid of Neoja Tion. "My dear disciple, we don't need the Bloodstone. With your talent, you can easily break through to the Celestial Soldier layer," said Neoja Tion. Neoja Tion didn't know why Wang Kai had agreed to give the Bloodstone to Heartless Sovereign. But with Wang Kai's personality, there must be a reason why he had made such a concession. Even if Neoja Tion wanted to give the Bloodstone to Kong Ro, he had to consider the situation. If he acted too rashly, the gains would not make up for the losses. "Yes, I don't want it either," said Kong Ro coquettishly. Neoja Tion was speechless. When Neoja Tion saw that, he was speechless. It seemed like he couldn't stop her and Wang Kai from getting together, and he didn't have the ability to do so. Once Kong Ro went to Tianzhou, with Wang Kai there, she would have a smooth journey. The 10 keys have been gathered. Let this sect master see exactly what the so-called reincarnation blood pool is. Wang Kai shrugged and glanced indifferently at Li Lingxian. With a flip of his hand, he tossed all 9 keys into the air. Li Lingxian didn't continue to make things difficult for them. Kong Ro had Neoja Tion's help, but she didn't have any trump cards. If she didn't please Wang Kai now, she would have a hard time in the future. Thinking about this, Li Lingxian also threw the key that belonged to the exquisite refinement sect into the void. Wang, rumble, rumble. When the 10 keys gathered together, they immediately connected and began to rotate. Along with bursts of dazzling and colorful light, a huge hole was torn open in the void. That spatial crack was dozens of miles wide. Waves of pungent, bloody stench also pounced on his face. "Papa," Neoja Tion snorted and said, "Little boy, hurry up and bring the people who are related to you here. Otherwise, when the reincarnation blood pool comes out, all the creatures in the reincarnation world will die with you." Swoosh! Hearing this, Wang Kai's expression was suddenly startled. Veins suddenly bulged on his forehead as he coldly glanced at the Heartless Sovereign. At the start, he had never heard of such a thing. However, he didn't have time to punish her. He quickly used his spiritual soul to spy on the reincarnation world and tore a hole with his bare hands. Soon, Lu Tian, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, the White-Bone Ghost King, Jin Yi Shao Yun by Ling by Yin Yin, Ji Beichun and his sister, Ji Rushua, Dongfang Xin, Dong Wang, Lan Qianqiu, Wang Tan, Lin Yu, Wang Fan, and the others were also taken out of the void. In a moment of desperation, even by Wu Chang and Wang Lianyi were taken out. Crack! Crack! Hearing the sound of the void being torn open, the people who were taken out all looked at the blood pool that gradually appeared in horror. The blood pool was in the shape of a circle with a radius of several dozen miles. Inside the blood pool, there was a sea of bright red blood. It was like lava, and it was still bubbling. Waves of hot air and a pungent smell of blood made people want to vomit when they smelled it. "Is this the reincarnation blood pool?" Wang Tian cried out in surprise when he saw this. His face was filled with excitement and excitement. He didn't notice who had brought him over at all. It was as if he didn't see Wang Kai at all. It had to be said that Wang Tian's determination to restore the Wang family's glory was as firm as a rock. On the other hand, Lin Yu didn't care about the reincarnation blood pool at all. When she saw Wang Kai, her beautiful eyes immediately reddened. She gritted her teeth and scolded angrily. "Bastard! Didn't you notice that Kai has saved you?" Whoosh! Hearing this, Wang Tian was stunned. He quickly turned to look at Wang Kai. When he saw Wang Kai's face full of disdain, he snorted in displeasure. "Heavens! What is that? Why is there blood flowing over? Could it be? Could it be?" Suddenly, Ji Beichen's body stiffened. He looked at the blood flowing over from all directions. There was even an aura that he was familiar with. For a moment, his eyes were in a daze. Everyone could guess what was going on. Although they were very grateful to Wang Kai for saving their lives, the blood belonged to their family and friends. "Kai, your cultivation is very high. Quickly take out the bloodstone from the blood pool and help your brother break through the heavenly venerate level and reach the 8 desolation supreme level. When that time comes, our Wang family..." "Shut up. Do you think Kai's injuries aren't severe enough?" Before Wang Tian could finish speaking, Lin Yu couldn't take it anymore. Her face turned pale, and her eyes were filled with killing intent as she roared fiercely. That crazy appearance was simply terrifying to the extreme. Even Wang Kai was stunned. He never thought that his cheap mother would be so terrifying when she was angry. Little did he know that when Wang Kai was angry, he was on par with Lin Yu. They were practically carved from the same mold. "Mother, why are you always against me? Why do you have to treat him so well? Although he is my biological brother, I've spent more than 10 years with you compared to him. Isn't that enough?" Wang Fan frowned and shouted with a mournful face. Swoosh! Lin Yu's breathing stopped when she heard this. She raised her hand to cover her face as tears flowed down uncontrollably. She said in a trembling voice, "It's precisely because I left him for more than 10 years." This scene caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Li Lingxian and the other girls even turned their heads away, unable to bear to continue watching. "Enough! I have already decided on the owner of the Bloodstone. As for you, Wang Fan, you useless piece of trash, scram into the sky connecting tower first. You will suffer in the future. You can come along too. Otherwise, I will be annoyed by you." Wang Kai scolded with an ashen face. With a flip of his hand, he grabbed Wang Fan and threw him into the sky connecting tower. Wang Tian did the same. Even if they wanted to resist, there was nothing they could do. "Kai, don't hurt." Before Lin Yu could finish her sentence, Wang Kai waved his hand and interrupted her. He said softly, "Although I'm used to being wild and lawless, I still know how to write the words virtue and love. Enter the sky connecting tower first. We will settle this matter when we return to Fan Province and meet the old master." Buzz! Lin Yu's eyes reddened as she was sent into the sky connecting tower by Wang Kai. She felt even more guilty. Chapter 611. Hiss! Phew! Wang Kai took a deep breath and exhaled heavily. His heart was filled with anger, but there was nothing he could do. Love was the most deadly thing in the world. Even though he did not belong to the Wang clan, he was still a member of the Wang clan. He had felt the value of family love from the old master. He had also felt the dilemma of love from Lin Yu's injuries. That was the only thing he could do. He had to suppress his anger and leave it to others. When everyone saw Wang Kai's appearance, they did not even dare to breathe loudly. Even Fatty Lu and the other familiar faces chose to remain silent at this moment. At this time, if they angered him, they would definitely not have a good ending. "Old Nyo, I will take the bloodstone from the reincarnation blood pool. You can deal with the rest." Wang Kai frowned and said indifferently, "Clap." Nyo Zhetian snorted and said, "Master Nyo only needs the blood from the reincarnation blood pool. It contains the essence of all the geniuses in the past 100,000 years." Swoosh! After saying that, Nyo Zhetian jumped into the blood pool. At the same time, he threw out a green stone. "Kid, this bloodstone is not ordinary. It has surpassed the original power of the Bloodstone and reached the level of the Jade Bloodstone. If you swallow it, even if you are a Heaven General, you can reach the Heaven Origin stage in an instant and very likely reach the peak. Inside the Tower of Babel, Lord Cat stroked his whiskers and reminded Lin Fan through telepathy. Clap! Wong Kai held the Bloodstone in his hand. It was as big as a baby's fist. He could not sense any battle chi from it. He could only sense the endless power of the heavens. It was the same power that he had used before. It contained an enormous amount of heaven's power. Yeah. Good brother, you lied to me. This stone must be delicious. Give it to me. Give it to me, okay? I really want to eat it. Wah wah. The little white critter suddenly went crazy. It was originally lying obediently on Wong Kai's shoulder, but now it was jumping around excitedly. If it wasn't for Wong Kai controlling the Jasper Bloodstone, he might have been swallowed by it at any time. It would be strange if the little white critter didn't want to eat such a huge amount of heavenly energy. What's so delicious about it? Isn't it just a broken stone? Let me tell you, I have plenty of these crappy stones. Don't worry, I'll let you eat them every day. Wong Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. As soon as these words came out, the white little beast was stunned. It stared at Wong Kai with its big watery eyes and looked at him suspiciously. It was only until Wong Kai felt a little uncomfortable that he cried out, "Yaya. Nice guy, you're lying. You must be bragging again. I only want to eat this one. I don't want to rest. Save it for you. Eat your grandpa." Wong Kai was speechless. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he hurriedly threw the Jasper Bloodstone to Heartless Prime. If he didn't do so, it might be swallowed by the little white critter. Goodbye. Crack. After Heartless Prime received the Jasper Bloodstone, he immediately said indifferently and tore open the void with his bare hands. In the end, he even used his Supreme Being cultivation repeatedly. As a result, the entire reincarnation realm buzzed. Rumble, rumble, crack, crack. In the blink of an eye, the void in the reincarnation realm collapsed. Bolts of lightning appeared and disappeared. Mountains, rivers, and rivers were all shattered into pieces. Bastard! Upon seeing this, Wong Kai immediately frowned and scolded with a cold face. He hurriedly flipped his hand and put the reincarnation blood pool, Lu Tian, and the others into the heaven-reaching tower. Don't blame me. Once the reincarnation realm opens, it won't open again in less than a year. If you want to leave, the only way is to destroy the reincarnation realm. Swoosh! As Heartless Prime's voice gradually became fainter and fainter, Wong Kai was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. First, he hid the fact that he would kill everyone after the reincarnation blood pool opened. Now, he suddenly used his Supreme Being cultivation to destroy the reincarnation realm, even if it didn't cause any harm to him and the others related to him. Such presumptuous behavior deserved to be taught a lesson. I'd like to see how you're going to use the Jasper Bloodstone. How are you going to enter Tianzhou? Once you enter Tianzhou, how are you going to be safe and sound? If I can't beat you until you're hoarse and exhausted, then I'll call myself Lord Kai of bragging in vain. Wong Kai gritted his teeth and sneered. He immediately waved his hand and completely destroyed the reincarnation realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Outside the reincarnation realm, Wong Kai followed Heartless Sovereign's aura all the way. Soon, he was out of the Heavenly Emperor domain. Heartless Prime's aura also stopped in the Soul Break Valley. Heavenly Ghost Prime has indeed been killed by the Heavenly Emperor. This damned woman actually dared to go against this sect master's orders. I've really gotten used to her bad habits. Wong Kai frowned and sneered. Within the Soul Break Valley, there were only 3 auras that were the most powerful. First, Jing Xian. Second, Heartless Prime. Third, it was the imposter Heavenly Emperor. As for Heavenly Ghost Prime, there was no aura to be found. Since Jing Xian and the Heavenly Emperor had appeared in the Soul Break Valley at the same time, it would be extremely difficult for Heavenly Ghost Prime to survive. Wang Kai, don't make an enemy out of Kong Ling. If she angrily leads her enemies from Tianzhou into the Eight Desolations, then no one in the Eight Desolations, or even the immortal martial domain, will be able to survive. Swoosh! Just as Wang Kai was about to step into the Soul Break Valley, Jing Xian's voice came from afar and entered his ears. Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He couldn't help but stop and look at the torn void in front of him. Jing Xian, who was dressed in a golden dress and had an exquisite figure, was standing quietly inside. Jing Xian, you worry too much. It's just a mere expert from Tianzhou. As long as he dares to come to the Eight Desolations, I'll kill him no matter how many he comes. It's just a matter of a snap of my fingers. Why should I care? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade Heavenly General Realm. No, her enemies are in the middle 3 heavens. You're still in the lower 3 heavens. You can't defeat them. It's better to let her safely return to Tianzhou. At that time, you'll be free and unfettered in Tianzhou. There's no need to worry about the safety of others. Jing Xian frowned and said, Middle 3 heavens. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes when he heard this. The cultivation realms in Tianzhou were divided into 3 heavens. The realms he was in now belonged to the Heavenly Soldier Realm, Heavenly General Realm, and Heavenly Origin Realm of the lower 3 heavens. If that fake Heavenly Emperor really led the enemies of Tianzhou down, it would be difficult to deal with them. Thinking of this, Wang Kai could only settle this score in Tianzhou. How will she return to Tianzhou? When will she return? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked. Chapter 612. Once she's completely devoured Heavenly Ghost Supreme Soul, she'll be able to make up for her missing soul. At that time, she'll be able to enter the Tianzhou region. It'll probably take another 2 hours, Jing Xian said softly. After all this time, the fake Sky Emperor turned out to be someone with an incomplete divine soul? It was no wonder that such a person took tens of thousands of years to reach the Supreme Realm. Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He couldn't help but take out his fan and wave it with a smile. To think that Ben Shao has only cultivated for a few years and has already surpassed the limits of the 8 barons and reached the level of a heavenly general. Such talent, I'm not boasting, but no one can compare to Ben Xiao's hair. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Jing Xian didn't have any words to refute this. Wang Kai's cultivation speed was indeed incomparable. At least in the 8 barons, no one could match him. But in Tianzhou, then what's the deal with Supreme Heartless? Since she obtained the Jade Bloodstone, why didn't she just devour it and break into Tianzhou? Instead, she went to mingle with the Sky Emperor. Wang Kai frowned and asked in confusion. Jing Xian shook her head and stepped out of the void. She stood beside Wang Kai and looked in the direction of the Sky Emperor, whose cultivation was rapidly increasing. She said softly, Supreme Heartless just took the Jade Bloodstone on behalf of Kongling. To truly heal the divine soul and the injuries of tens of thousands of years, Supreme Heavenly Ghost Divine Soul alone is not enough. She actually took the Jade Bloodstone for the Sky Emperor. At first, he thought she was using it for herself. Wang Kai couldn't help but be stunned. He never thought that Supreme Heartless and the Sky Emperor had long been conspiring. He couldn't help but admire this fake Sky Emperor. To be able to endure for tens of thousands of years and become the Sky Emperor in one leap. She was even able to accept all of Supreme Heavenly Ghost schemes. This woman was very impressive. So Supreme Heartless condition is for Kongling to bring her into Tianzhou, right? For Kongling to be able to do this, you must have put in a lot of effort, right? Is there a need to help her like this? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather speechless expression. Whoosh! Jing Xian suddenly turned around. Her beautiful eyes stared at Wang Kai as she said softly, "You know that I'm now an 8 Desolation Supreme. Even if I spend my entire life trying, I won't be able to set foot in the Tianzhou continent. Before this, I didn't have the strong urge to cultivate in the Tianzhou continent because I met you." With that, Wang Kai's heart skipped a beat. He could not help but reach out his hand and touch his face gently. He smiled gently. "So you helped Heaven Emperor Kong Ling and wanted to use her status on the Heaven Plane to resolve your bottleneck." "That's right. If she can take Heartless with her to Tianzhou, she can take me there as well. When the time comes, I'll be able to break through and cultivate again in Tianzhou. It'll be 100 times faster than in Bahuang." Jing Xian nodded and smiled. Indeed, with Kong Ling's status in the Tianzhou continent, as long as she wasn't directly hunted down by her enemies, it would be extremely easy for her to nurture a genius. However, in Wang Kai's opinion, such a method was still too risky. Who knew if Kong Ling would fulfill her promise after she returned to the Tianzhou continent and regained her status? Someone who could endure for tens of thousands of years and even scheme against Supreme Sky Ghost, who had lived for more than 100,000 years, was truly powerful. You don't need to rely on her. Break through and cultivate again right now. I'm willing to accompany you anywhere in Bahuang for thousands of years. When the time comes, we'll enter the Tianzhou continent together." Wang Kai smiled gently and hugged Jing Xian. In other words, when it came to relationships, Wang Kai valued Jing Xian the most and treated her the most seriously. Even though he had feelings for Yun Fei, he didn't value her as much as Jing Xian. No, if you delay it for thousands of years, what's the point of going to the Tianzhou continent? Plus, I'm not someone who relies on others to survive. Even if Kong Ling breaks her promise, I won't mind. I'll just spend more time cultivating." Jing Xian shook her head and smiled. In Jing Xian's opinion, Wang Kai's cultivation speed was simply too fast. If she stayed with him, she wouldn't be able to surpass him. Even catching up to him would be difficult. If she could go to the Tianzhou continent to cultivate, she would at least have a chance. Even if she could help Wang Kai, she would be happy to do so. Hearing this, Wang Kai felt extremely helpless in his heart. What Jing Xian was strong was not her cultivation or wisdom, but her will that was as firm as a boulder. Since she wanted to cultivate alone, Wang Kai couldn't force her. As the saying goes, a melon picked by force isn't sweet. Everything had to be done naturally. Plus, in Wang Kai's opinion, doing this was an inexplicable but nice feeling between a man and a woman. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Not bad, not bad. I didn't think that my Jing Xian would play tricks. TSK, TSK. Don't worry. During the time we are apart, there will be countless beauties chasing after Ben Xiao. It's just that Ben Xiao won't be interested in any of them. You won't touch them. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled sincerely. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. It would be great if that was the case. Jing Xian was secretly amused, but she was also a little worried and helpless. She could only treat his words as passing wind. She smiled faintly and said, "Why don't you call yourself this cult master and change back to this young master? Haha, don't you know that awesome people usually hide behind the scenes?" Ben Xiao is the best example. The world should look up to Ben Xiao. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Sister Xian, let's go. Buzz. Swoosh. Suddenly, Sky Emperor Kong Ling and Heartless Prime stepped into the air from the Soul Break Valley. They were surrounded by a golden light. The light was like a hollow light pillar that carried them up to the sky. At the same time, Kong Ling's secret technique separated a golden light from the light pillar and enveloped Jing Xian. "See you in Tianzhou." Jing Xian didn't say much. She just stared at Wang Kai for a long time. As the golden light carried her and disappeared into the sky, Wang Kai came back to his senses. Tianzhou, be there or be square. Wang Kai looked up at the sky and muttered softly. He suddenly felt empty in his heart, but he also had endless expectations for the land of Tianzhou. It's a pity that I couldn't get rid of my lovesickness. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed again and again. With a flip of his hand, he took out the painting scroll and casually glanced at it. With a wave of his hand, he shattered it into pieces. The old master's family helped the Sky Emperor to usurp the throne. Now that she had ascended and returned to Tianzhou, the scroll was naturally useless. He didn't need her to do anything. Sect Leader Wang, how do you plan to divide the 8 desolates? Suddenly, a clear, melodious, and extremely pleasant voice sounded out, causing Wang Kai to be stunned. He couldn't help but hurriedly turn around and take a look. With one look, Wang Kai's face darkened, and he could not help but curse. F***CK. You want to use your appearance to kill Ben Xiao? Chapter 613. The person who came was none other than the ugly woman who pretended to be Lu Wanwan at the Prime Minister's birthday banquet. Her waist was thick and her legs were short. Not to mention her big buttocks, she had a round face. Moreover, one of her eyes was as big as a dragon's eye, while the other was as small as a soybean. It was simply hard to look straight at her. However, although this woman's appearance and figure didn't change, her cultivation had reached the half-step Supreme Being realm, as if she could step into the Supreme Being realm at any time. A frightened sect Master Wang. My appearance was suppressed by Yun Kongling, and my cultivation was also suppressed, now that she has ascended and left the 8 desolaces. Although her cultivation has been restored, it will take a few days for her appearance to be restored. Nangonghu faintly smiled. Hearing this, Wang Kai was speechless and turned around. He naturally knew that this woman was the real heavenly emperor, Nangonghu, and the one who ascended was Yun Kongling. However, this woman's voice was extremely pleasant to listen to, but her appearance was not complimentary. Before she recovered, Wang Kai really didn't want to see her. Or rather, even if she fully recovered, Wang Kai wouldn't want to see her again. After all, this appearance was already deeply ingrained in people's hearts. Ben Xiao has always been a free and unrestrained person. I have no intention to separate the 8 desolaces with you. In a few days, I will also leave the 8 desolaces to meet the thousands of beauties who have been waiting for Ben Xiao for countless years. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. When these words came out, Nangonghu covered her mouth and snickered. However, that snickering appearance could really make people faint. Fortunately, Wang Kai didn't turn around. Otherwise, he would definitely beat her up. The Wang family should re-enter the 8 desolaces and become. Before Nangonghu finished speaking, she was interrupted by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. There's no need. As long as Ben Xiao is here, the Wang family will be a peak existence no matter how barren the place is. Moreover, Ben Xiao doesn't want you to disturb the Wang family, not even once. Otherwise, the heavenly court will cease to exist, Wang Kai said rather indifferently. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai's feet moved, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Looking at the direction Wang Kai left, Nangonghu was filled with envy. If she could also reach the same height as Wang Kai, why would she be suppressed back then? At the border of the Heavenly Emperor region, after Wang Kai released Lu Tian and the others from the Heaven Connecting Tower, he said with a calm expression, "From today onwards, we will part ways." Whoosh! As soon as he said this, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others were stunned, especially the green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, the white-bone Ghost King, and Genie. These 7 generals of the heaven-defying sect were now peak heavenly masters. After following Wang Kai for so long, their cultivation had improved rapidly. Now is the best time to unify the 8 desolaces. Yet, Wang Kai said such words, "Sect Master, don't brag when you have nothing to do." Lu Tian laughed dryly, but he was interrupted by Wang Kai halfway through his words. Before that, I will help you all to reach the Supreme Being level. If fate allows it, we will meet again in the heavenly region. Wang Kai smiled calmly. Whoosh, buzz, crack, crack. As soon as his voice faded, Wang Kai waved his hand and tore open the void. Pressure swept out, and soon, 7 figures appeared from the crack in the void. Except for Tao Master Levitation, who was killed by Heartless Sovereign, the rest of the Supreme Beings were there. Wang Kai, what are you doing? The 7 Supreme Beings were shocked. They were terrified that Wang Kai had suddenly captured them and brought them here. It's simple. I will make you fall from the Supreme Being level and help me reach the Supreme Being level. Buzz. Wah. In an instant, as Wang Kai waved his hand, the bodies of the 7 Supreme Beings froze, and they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their cultivation auras fell from the Supreme Being level to the peak Heavenly Master level. Green Ghost and Red Ghost, take out the fruit of earth and swallow it together. Wang Kai clapped his hands and smiled calmly. Sect Master. The eyes of the Green Ghost and Red Ghost reddened. They slowly took out the fruit of earth and waited for Yang Wei, Lu Tian, Jin Yi, and the others to swallow them all. Their cultivation levels also broke through in an instant. Finally, they stopped at the peak Supreme Being level. Sect Master, see you in Tianzhou, Yang Wei said in a deep voice. He cupped his fists and bowed to Wang Kai, then stepped into the air and left. Though he didn't want to, he knew very well that Wang Kai had to step into Tianzhou. As for them, they did not have the qualifications to follow him. Even though they were supreme beings and were invincible in the 8 barons, they were nothing in Tianzhou. What are you all standing there for? Men should act like men. All of you get lost. I'll be waiting for you in Tianzhou. Bang, bang, bang. F***CK? Sect Master, you can't do this. As soon as Wang Kai finished speaking, Lu Tian and the others were sent flying into the void under the bombardment of Wang Kai's palm strikes. Then, they disappeared in an instant as they circulated their power. Remember to take care of Lan Qianshou, the palace master of the Celestial Master Mansion. He has been working for Ben Shao for a long time. It's not easy. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled mockingly. Don't worry. No problem. All right. As the voices of Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others rang out, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and exhaled softly. He cursed, "Damn it, they don't even know how to force this sect master to drink a cup." Crack! As soon as he finished speaking, before Wang Kai could even react, space was suddenly torn apart. Surprisingly, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others were standing within it. The 7 generals of the Discord sect were all present. Each of them was holding a jar of wine and looking at Wang Kai with a smile. Seeing this, Wang Kai felt warm in his heart. With a flip of his hand, Lung Feng, Can Run, Ji Beichun, by Yin Yin, and the others were all released. The palace master of the Celestial Master Mansion and Lan Qianshou were among them. Qingguei, give Palace Master Lan some fruits of earth and let him enter the 9 heavens realm. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Lu Tian and the others occupied 7 9 heavens realm positions. Now, Lan Qianshou also occupied one. Including the real heavenly emperor, there were 9. The last one whoosh. Lan Qianshou's expression froze when he heard this. When he saw Green Ghost toss over 100 fruits of earth, he felt like crying. I was forced to be Wang Kai's henchman and committed many crimes. I almost lost my life several times, but I've finally made it. The palace master's eyes were red as he put away the fruits of earth as if they were precious treasures. Everyone will meet again if fate wills it. Whoosh! Wang Kai cupped his fist at the crowd and reached out his hand to capture Yun Feiqing, Kong Ro, Li Lingxian, Kun Shui, Bai Yin Yin, Lung Feng, and Qin Ren. Together with Lu Tian and the others, they tore the void apart and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Wang Kai no longer had any attachment to the 8 desolates. His journey to the 8 desolates had come to an end. Wang Kai knew that the real battlefield was in the Tianzhou region. Chapter 614. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Wang Kai, who was supposed to be the first to enter Tianzhou, became the last. In 2 years, the 7 generals of the Discord sect, Lu Tian, and the others all ascended to Tianzhou. Then, Lung Feng, Song Run, and Fatty Lu, not to be outdone, relied on the fruit of earth to successfully ascend to Tianzhou. In the end, even Yin Fei Qing, Li Ling Xian, Kong Ro, Bai Yin Yin, and even Kuan Shui relied on the fruit of earth to ascend to Tianzhou. At this moment, Wang Kai was in the courtyard of the marshal's mansion, watching his last confidant leave. Inside the golden light pillar, a seductive woman in an extremely provocative dress was moving her body. She smiled and said, "Husband, I will wait for you in Tianzhou." This woman was Miao Yin from the Joyful Buddha Temple. In the past 2 years, Wang Kai accompanied the old man. Yun Fei Qing and Miao Yin also often accompanied him. As for Bai Yin Yin, Li Ling Xian, and Kong Ro, they could only watch from the side in anger every day. In the end, they all ascended to Tianzhou with strong complaints about Wang Kai. It was not that Wang Kai did not want to do good things with them. However, Yun Fei Qing was too strict. After sending Yun Fei Qing away, Miao Yin played the role of supervision again. It could be said that they never separated from each other every day and night. "Go, all of you go." Wang Kai frowned, his forehead full of black lines, and waved his hand. That look of disdain really made Miao Yin giggle nonstop. Buzz. As Miao Yin disappeared into the sky, Wang Kai was completely relieved and fell into the chair. Looking at the white clouds in the sky, he said rather speechlessly, "Great, now they are all gone. Ben Xiao has no one to warm his bed. Brother, let me go. It's been 2 years, 2 years. I really know I was wrong." Wah! Suddenly, an incomparably miserable cry sounded in his ears. That voice was sorrowful, aggrieved, and filled with bitterness. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. He casually turned his head and looked at the young man who was tied to a pillar in the courtyard. He smiled faintly and said, "You don't have enough sincerity. Continue to stay." Wow! The person tied to the huge wooden pillar was none other than Wang Fan. After Wang Kai returned to Fan Province, he was tied up and smeared honey on his body every day, attracting bees, ants, and other small beasts to come and bite him. This was not the end of it. Almost every night, Wang Kai would ruthlessly whip Wang Fan until there was not a day where his body was in good condition. Even his bones and tendons were broken and regenerated, and then broken again when they were regenerated. For 2 whole years, Wang Kai had used all sorts of methods to deal with Wang Fan. It could be said that Wang Fan suffered greatly. He was a man, yet he washed his face with tears every day. From this, it could be seen how miserable he was. Every time Wang Fan begged for mercy, Wang Kai would always say the same thing. "You don't have enough sincerity. Continue to stay." Every time Wang Fan heard this, he would definitely cry even more miserably. Unfortunately, no one could help him. Even Wang Tian had not seen him for 2 years under the old master's reprimanding and discipline. As for Lin Yu, she could only grit her teeth and leave her hometown. She went to the Lin family in Wu province to hide from this matter. Out of sight, out of mind. In Lin Yu's opinion, even if her heart ached, it was time to teach Wang Tian and Wang Fan a lesson. The old master taught Wang Tian a lesson, while Wang Kai taught Wang Fan a lesson. The grandfather and grandson pair had a clear division of labor. "Kaier, are you going to Tianzhou?" The old master, who was now a supreme being, appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. His body was brimming with energy, and he looked just like a middle-aged man. He glanced indifferently at Wang Fan before asking Wang Kai. Behind him was Wang Tian, whom he had not seen for 2 years. Although Wang Tian's clothes were neat and tidy, his face was covered with bruises. As he walked, his entire body trembled slightly. From this, it could be seen that he had been taught a lesson by the old master. At this moment, when he saw Wang Kai, the smile on his face, despite the pain, was extremely unsightly and stiff. "Yes, I'm going to leave now." Wang Kai nodded and smiled. He glanced at Wang Tian with a complicated expression, then waved his hand and released Wang Fan from the pillar. Bang! Plop! Wah! Grandfather, father! Wah! After Wang Fan was released, he was like a child who had done something wrong. He cried and wiped his tears. It was a miserable sight. Now, they didn't dare to look at Wang Kai. Once they saw Wang Kai's half-smile, they felt uncomfortable all over. It could be said that they were terrified to the extreme. Bastard! How can a disciple of the Wang family cry? Where's your decency? The old master's eyes were cold as he scolded sternly. He even lifted his leg and kicked Wang Fan out of the courtyard. A plop was heard from afar, followed by Wang Fan's miserable scream. Kai have a safe journey. The family will be fine. Wang Tian hesitated for a moment, then moved his lips and said with a trembling voice. He knew that Wang Kai would ignore him, so he turned around and quickly left the courtyard. Okay. However, what Wang Tian did not expect was that Wang Kai actually responded. Although he did not call him father, it was already enough. He did not know that Wang Kai did this for the sake of the old master. After he left, the Wang family should be happy and harmonious. He could not leave behind any regrets. Wang Tian's footsteps paused. His body trembled violently. In the end, he waved his sleeve and left the courtyard. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret and guilt. His obsession to restore the glory of the Wang family had finally dissipated. Old master, if you want me to let go of that good-for-nothing scum, just say so. Why did you have to add a kick? Such a fake magic trick isn't interesting at all. Wang Kai shrugged with a playful smile on his face. The old master's face stiffened. He had to admit that Wang Kai had gone out to train for many years. He was no longer the impulsive brat. Haha, aren't you going to Lin family to see your mother? Swish. Following a laugh, Uncle Fu's figure appeared in the courtyard. Just like the old man, he had also reached the Nine Heavens supremacy realm. No need. I'm not used to parting. Wang Kai waved his hand and said with a speechless expression, the taste of parting was really not good. He has been at the Lin family in Wu province for the past few days. Naturally, he doesn't have to see you. The old master smiled as he stroked his beard. Swish. Hearing this, Wang Kai's face stiffened. He couldn't help but say in his heart, that despicable mother of mine sold me out. Looking at Uncle Fu's teasing gaze, Wang Kai immediately felt embarrassed. Old master, Uncle Fu, when I flatten Tianzhou and take back the position of the ruler of Tianzhou, my Wang family will be the sole ruler of the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Goodbye. Wang Kai suddenly waved his arm and laughed heroically. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching grade 7 Heavenly General. As his words faded, Wang Kai turned around and left. Just like when he left the marshal's mansion, he had to boast about something that was unrealistic but was very likely to be done. Flatten Tianzhou was one thing, but what did he mean by taking back the position of the ruler of Tianzhou? When did he become the ruler of Tianzhou? The old master and Uncle Fu looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. The reason why Wang Kai went to Tianzhou 2 years later than the others was to accompany them. Although 2 years wasn't a long time, it was very warm. Chapter 615. 8 Desolates, Central Wilderness, Heavenly Emperor Region, Tongtian Peak. In the void, Wang Kai stood in the air and looked down. He realized that the so-called Tongtian Peak was so small. Even an ordinary mountain peak was taller than it. There was nothing special about it. On the peak, there was an octagonal array platform. Its shape was exactly the same as the bottom of Tongtian Tower. Back then, you didn't manage to act tough here and were suppressed by the 8 Desolates to the point of vomiting blood, right? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a mocking smile. Inside Tongtian Tower, Lord Cat was so angry that his body trembled. It could be said that this was the last thing he wanted to talk about. However, Wang Kai had to bring it up. Back then, If Lord Cat knew that the 8 desolates could only accommodate the cultivation of 10 sovereigns, Lord Cat naturally wouldn't have taken over the mountain. It's normal for a newcomer to not know the rules. Lord Cat said as he stroked his long beard. Wong Kai shrugged his shoulders and stopped teasing him. He gently tapped his feet and landed in front of the octagonal array platform on the peak. Buzz! Tong Tian Tower flew down from Wong Kai's ear and turned into the size of a human. It landed on the array platform. The shape of the bottom of the Tong Tian Tower coincidentally matched the formation platform. Kid, enter Tong Tian Tower. Lord Cat will bring you to Tianzhou. Lord Cat stroked his long beard and said with a proud smile. Seeing this, Wong Kai raised his eyebrows. It was strange. How was he going to bring him to Tianzhou? Could it be that the array platform was a teleportation array? With that thought, Wong Kai's body moved and turned into a mini person. He floated through the door of Tong Tian Tower and arrived at the first level of the Tong Tian Tower. Pale world. I wonder how the little devil girl is doing now. I can't sense her aura in the 8 desolates. Did she die? Wong Kai looked at the familiar pale world and couldn't help but think of the princess of the demon continent, Run Huan Huan. Kid, sit tight. Let's go. Wong. Following Cat Lord's sudden words, Wong Kai felt that the space around him had suddenly become larger. Moreover, a feeling of floating from the ground had invaded his entire body. Damn, could it be that he wants to use the growth of the Tower of Babel to reach Tianzhou? Using his spirit, Wong Kai discovered that the heaven-reaching tower was rapidly increasing in height. Its speed pierced through the clouds in the blink of an eye. What else can we do? I don't belong to the 8 barons. Even if I reach the celestial soldier realm, I can't go to Tianzhou. The only thing I can use is the combination of the secret technique and Tong Tian Tower. Cat stroked his long whiskers and smiled proudly. Secret technique. Wong Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. 2 years ago, Yin Kongling had taken Jing Xian and Heartless to Tianzhou using a secret technique. It was likely that only the people of the Tianzhou would use such a technique. It's just a pity that Tong Tian Tower can't be taken back once it reaches Tianzhou. I'm afraid it will have to stay in the 8 barons for a long time, standing between heaven and earth. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and sighed regretfully. Tong Tian Tower will stay in the 8 barons and connect to Tianzhou? If that's the case, Wong Kai's expression suddenly froze. He said with surprise, could it be that other people can also use Tong Tian Tower to come to Tianzhou? It's hard to say. If there is another person who is fated with Tong Tian Tower, he should be able to use it. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and said, it was really possible. Like Jing Xian? Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and asked. Cat Lord nodded lightly, and his figure appeared in the pale world. He said lightly, that's right. Back then, Cat Lord was seriously injured and left Tong Tian Tower in Tong Tian Peak. She happened to find it and use it to go to Tianzhou. Fortunately, Cat Lord took it back after that. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, Wong Kai frowned. He suddenly had a guess in his heart. You took Tong Tian Tower away. How did Jing Xian and Yin Kongling return to 8 barons? Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with an unfriendly expression. Cat Lord didn't hide anything. He stroked his long whiskers and said lightly, naturally, they came back through the gate of reincarnation. However, to come to 8 barons from there, it's very dangerous. As far as Cat Lord knows, only Jing Xian and Yin Kongling were able to successfully pass through. As expected, hearing that, Wong Kai instantly confirmed his guess. No wonder Jing Xian died and had to recultivate. It turned out that Tong Tian Tower was taken away by Cat Lord. She couldn't go back to 8 barons safely. And because Yin Kongling's enemies were chasing after her, she could only choose to take the risk and return to 8 barons through the gate of reincarnation. Boy, this has nothing to do with Cat Lord. Tong Tian Tower is Cat Lord's treasure. It's natural for Cat Lord to take it away. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and said. Wong Kai shrugged when he heard that. He curled his lips and said with a faint smile, what are you afraid of? Ben Shao didn't say that he wanted to punish you. At least you're reasonable. If you want to find someone, you should find the enemy who is chasing after them. Yin Kongling, Cat Lord knows a Yun family. I just don't know if it's the Yun family that she is in. Cat Lord snorted with satisfaction. Bang! Buzz! Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, and the heaven-reaching tower began to tremble. However, it quickly returned to its original calm state. Let's go out. We've arrived at the gate of reincarnation. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and smiled. Gate of reincarnation? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He immediately floated out of the Tong Tian Tower with Cat Lord. However, he discovered that the tip of the Tower of Babel was embedded right below a huge door. The gate in front of them was as big as a mountain. The 4 words, Gate of Reincarnation, were especially obvious. Clap, 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 clap. Suddenly, silver plates appeared on the door of the Gate of Reincarnation. Each plate was the size of a palm, and there were different black words engraved on them. There are 3,000 forces in the Tianzhou. Choose one of them. Those who have reached the heavenly soldier realm can enter. An ancient voice sounded. Wang Kai frowned when he heard it. He couldn't help but look at the silver plates on the gate. The top one was called Empyrean Imperial Palace. The second one was called Netherworld Retreat. The third one was called Heavenly Martial Palace. These 3 forces were at the top. Below them were forces of different sizes. Bastard! Why is the Tong Tian school ranked at the bottom? Suddenly, Grandpa Cat let out a fierce snarl. His paw, which was stroking his long whiskers, pulled them out violently and directly pulled them out. Tong Tian school, the bottom? Wang Kai's pupils shrank slightly when he heard this. He hurriedly lowered his head and looked at the major factions at the back. The silver plate of the Tong Tian school happened to be at the 2,500th place. Why are you so excited? Aren't there 500 forces at the back? The forces at the back didn't get angry. Why are you so anxious? Wang Kai shrugged and said speechlessly, You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.